Chapter 22. It was an unadorned golden OO. I had a hard time recalling information about Schwartz. After all, even though I wrote down as much as I could remember on paper when I realized that this world was similar to Ring of Fire, it was over 20 years ago for me. It took a lot of effort to contact my friends in the Empire to compare the information and confirm that what I thought was correct was true. That being said, I was able to save Lady Violet from danger this time thanks to that, so I'll consider it a good thing. When I mentioned her client's name, Miss Schwartz, who had her neck tightened, swore to leave quietly. Frankly speaking, I might have placed my life in constant danger from now on by letting somebody who became an assassin to save the orphanage she grew up in leave, but I negotiated with her to have my safety guaranteed. The terms of the negotiation was simply abandon the request and don't lay a hand on the residents of Shiki. In turn, we also won't lay a hand on the orphanage. In addition, I ended up paying money for a contract that she wouldn't touch me. Cyan and Apricot are. Yeah, it looks like their injuries are also fine. They're just sleeping. If I remember correctly, they're asleep due to Schwartz's original magic, which is a combination of fragrances and magic. From my knowledge, it had some degree of directivity, and was more effective at putting the targets to sleep by sneaking it into one's body while applying space preservation. It doesn't seem to cause any harm, and I'll check later if there are any after effects. What should I do about Lady Violet, who's sitting a little far away from me with her face covered? Even though things went well this time, she must have realized that there's somebody out there who hates her enough to want to assassinate her. Moreover, it was somebody from her family who was monitoring her. It was something they did on their own accord to their fanatic loyalty, but it might take some time for Lady Violet to calm down, since she was a target of murderous intent instead of simple hostility. Lady Violet, Gray and the others will be here soon. Only the priest, who restrained the client, knows that something like this happened. Others will only think that a Fenrir has lost its way and gone out of control. What I mean is, everything is fine. Gray and I will protect you, as family. And what happened this time was because the Watcher went too far. Others typically wouldn't do something like this. What I mean is, you know. What should I do? How should I follow up? Even I don't know how to care for the person who was nearly assassinated. Rather than that, I want you to take in consideration my specs that didn't get me praised as a prodigy or a gifted child during childhood, even though I'm a reincarnated adult. At the end, I was even told to calm down more. Maybe, yes. While I was choosing the next words, Lady Violet continued while looking down. Thank God, at least she's trying to have a conversation. Maybe it's better if I'm gone. Nevertheless, I'm not good with conversations like this. But it's much better for her to vent like this instead of bottling things up, reaching her limit and become suicidal before I know it. I approached Lady Violet, took a position in front of her and squatted down. Then, slowly, but quietly, she began to mutter words. All I have done is cause trouble to those around me. I didn't have allies at that time either. Just as she was trying to do her best after being dumped and abandoned, this incident happened. I haven't heard the details of her life at the academy, but even I know that she was struggling alone. Or even if she had people around her, they wouldn't be able to protect her. The condemnation event in Ring of Fire should have been hopeless for Lady Violet. But it's also true that Lady Violet was extremely blind to her surroundings. That was undeniable. Neither mother nor father expect anything from me. No, maybe they don't even consider me as their child anymore. I think she's exaggerating, but I don't know Lady Violet's parents that well. I feel like if I told her that she's wrong even though I don't know anything about her parents, it would make it worse. She probably wouldn't want me to say that either. Lord CLO. Yes. Lady Violet, who was talking while looking down, raised her head and looked at me. What should I do? I don't know what to do anymore. An expression that looked like that of a crying child, making her look a little younger than her age. It was her vulnerable side that I hadn't seen until now. It was the face of a girl who's neither tempestuous nor arrogant. Seeing her like this greatly destroyed the image I had of her until now. Rain was pouring outside the cave. But her weak voice was painfully clear in my ears. Then, following a flash of light outside, the sound of thunder echoed through the cave with a little delay. Thanks to that, I was able to search for the words after a few seconds and found the words I wanted to say. I took a small breath and prepared myself. Lady Violet. Her shoulders flinched for a second at my words. Lady Violet right now was fully dominated by negative emotions. Rather than being aggressive, her heart was so weakened, she found everything the other person did scary. Actually, I was planning to give it to you later. I was going to give it to her on the 1-month anniversary of her arrival in Shiki, but I have no choice now. I took out something I had hurriedly hidden in my pocket in the morning because Lady Violet had come just as I'd received it. It was packaged in a black box with no wrapping or any other decorations. Yup, the box is safe. I'm glad it wasn't crushed by Fenrir or the knife. I probably should have prepared it earlier, but could you please accept this? I took it out of the box and held it with the thumb and index finger of my left hand. I put the box away in my pocket and took Lady Violet's left hand with my free right hand. It's a beautiful hand. Looking at her left hand, which I have never held before and which makes me a little bashful to hold now, I can see the effort she has made to keep herself beautiful even after coming to Shiki. You might have many things to think about, like what to do, being abandoned, your position, and self-sacrifice. But please let me just say this. I looked straight at her as she looked up. Her long, beautiful violet hair was swaying from the rain, her beautiful blue eyes were dripping with tears, and her mouth was tightly closed, as if she would let out sobs if she opened it. She didn't have her usual elegance or grace, but I, who've always seen her as one of the characters of an otome game, felt like I was able to see her face properly for the first time. I have once told you that I hated you. Remembering that I had never told her that I liked her, my heartbeat quickened at what I was about to say. But, I'm your ally. I've never done anything like this before, including in my previous life. I hope my voice isn't strange. I hope my expression isn't funny. I hope she doesn't think that I'm weird. I can't help worrying about all those things. Let's figure out what to do from now on, together. Even if this marriage was sudden and unwanted at the beginning, due to a combination of events and various unforeseen factors. Even if we were wary of each other in the beginning. The rapport to get to know each other. Life in an unfamiliar environment. And love. I thought all of those wouldn't be too late to start after we became a married couple. So, please don't say something as lonely as you being better off dead. I put a ring on her ring finger and promised her. Let's support each other as a family. I will always be there for you. Chapter 23, The Soggy Lavender, Navy and Peach Run a Temperature. You're really fine with me? Yes, I am. Gazing at the gold ring on her left hand, Lady Violet ascertained, with her eyes teary and voice shaking. In response to her query, I continued to hold her left hand and maintained the smile on my face as I answered her. I got a little carried away, but my words were a reflection of my true feelings. I've never held a favorable view towards marriage. Even this marriage, I considered it part of the otome game and an unavoidable sequence of events, hence I never gave much thought to how to lead a married life. Being a couple just on paper wasn't exactly what I had in mind. But given that we did end up together, I thought the least we could do was get along. That was my line of thought. However, seeing Lady Violet cry made me want to stay by her side for some reason. Thank you. Thank you very much. So, I'm not alone. No, you're not. I'm by your side. Her tears now didn't look sad like they did earlier but showed relief and happiness, as if it would make her happy if my words were true. It's alright if she sheds tears till she's drained of them, and I'd be grateful if it somehow ends up comforting me as well. But, in this kind of situation. Ho ho, I heard a voice. A female voice. A voice often heard in Shiki, so excitable that one would imagine the owner to be calm and composed only during prayer, one belonging to a woman a year younger than me. That's strange. She's supposed to be asleep. I see. Then this must be an auditory hallucination. There's no other explanation. Truly none. I can't sense any movements from behind me. 3. Miss Cyan, I just saw a confession for the first time ever. Oh, but Lord CLO and Lady Violet are married, what do you call it then? Of course, it's what they call conjugal relations, Cotty. Naturally they'll engage in a joint activity later tonight. Joint? That makes sense. They are a couple. No, a family. Yes, it's because they are family. How long have you two been awake? I wasn't hearing things after all. Not just Cyan, but even Apricot had come too. How long, just how long have they been listening? How much of our conversation did they hear? My confession aside, if they heard about the details of the assassination, then it would be bad in more ways than one. The thunderbolt earlier woke me up. Same here. That's when I confessed. The thunderbolt is what influenced me to finally decide on what to say to Lady Violet. This makes it hard to resent it. Never mind that, I'm glad everything is resolved. The fact that CLO's here must mean the Fenrir has been taken care of. Well, Gray should have put it to sleep and captured it by now. Everything's settled then. Besides, Io's been on the edge lately. I'm happy if your words gave her some relief. Shit, she's usually an oddball, but she's sharp at the weirdest of times. She doesn't seem in need of urgent care. I wonder if I could just leave her here. But she's probably the one who injured one of Fenrir's eyes, and if not for that, it may have taken me longer to get here. Would it be awful of me to not be grateful to her for that? This whole thing must have also scared Apricot. Also, I fought with the Fenrir too, so you better take good care of me. I'm but a poor, delicate girl. Stop calling yourself a girl when you're a grown-ass adult. Besides, I'm sure you're the one who gouged out Fenrir's eye. What's so delicate about you? My head. That's nothing to brag about. I'm certain she's doing all this on purpose, including her delicate girl quip. Fine, I'll do it. Once Lady Violet has cried her eyes out, I'll lend Cyan a shoulder. She probably needs some first aid too. It would also be a good idea to let the sopping wet apricot borrow the bath once we return. Come to think of it, the hot spring. Hold on, oh. While I was thinking about what should be done with those two, I suddenly felt a tug on my sleeve from the direction Lady Violet was sitting. When I turned my attention towards the source, Lady Violet looked at me with fear etched on her face. You're leaving my side. Weren't you going to be my support? What's with that? Stop tugging my sleeve while looking up at me with teary eyes and speaking in that fragile voice. It's making me not want to leave your side, God damn it. It's alright, really, Lady Violet. I'll stay by your side and I won't go anywhere. But you just tried to go to Miss Cyan. I did, but it's alright. Please don't sound so forlorn. She's in a very fragile state of mind right now. Of course, I meant it when I said I'd be by her side and would always have her back, but thinking back I don't really know what a normal married life entails. What am I supposed to do as her husband in a situation like this? Hey, CLO's freaking out. What do you think, Cotty? Please share your thoughts on seeing a hesitant CLO. To revel in peace he needs to take a seat beside her and conduct a ritual to bestow tranquility by having their hearts bond. I see, a kiss. Not to worry. You lost lambs. As one of the 1,000 serving God, I shall stand witness to your act. Should I really leave these idiots behind? I know I should comfort her or kiss her to show my affection. Frankly, I'd do it if I'm allowed to. But I'll be damned if I have my first kiss in front of this horny idiotic nun and delusional idiot. Moreover, Lady Violet would hate it if I kissed her without warning. You're not going to do it. Please stop, Lady Violet. Please stop saying things that'll make me sway. Aw, damn it. The two idiots fanned the flames. But would it be better if I kissed her at the very least? Never mind a kiss on the lips, but I wouldn't mind kissing her on the cheek or the back of her hand. I'm sure the two idiots are going to shoot daggers at me later. If it were me, I would have no trouble making such a small gesture. Achoo! Huh, are you okay, Cotty? Are you cold? Yes. Since I had to focus on keeping up Asgard, I couldn't spare any attention to maintaining my body temperature. Ugh, my clothes also feel so heavy. Then all you gotta do is remove that heavy, witchy cloak you have on. The hat too, while you're at it. But I'm sure she would never take them off in front of others. Even back when she first arrived in Shiki, she was so particular about her appearance that she'd rather collapse due to heatstroke. CLO's looking as if he wants to ask us to strip. I see, so he's trying to get us out of our clothes when we're exhausted and defenseless after battle. Wah. Ho ho ho. Fine by me, Lord CLO. My body can certainly outshine a top-tier diamond. I can't fault you for being curious. I see, so you're still very much interested in female anatomy, Lord CLO. Then should I also strip? All right. CLO, you take your clothes off too. Even a crime isn't that scary when everyone does it together. Let's go. Hey, look here, you damn nun. What's with these people? Sigh, don't tell me that the magic Miss Schwartz used infected them with her exhibitionist fetish. Nah, they are probably just delirious from the fever, and the adrenaline from the battle probably has them excited. Yes, that must be it. Though, I don't know much about how adrenaline works. Lord CLO, do you intend to give me 3 moms? The voice came from the entrance of the cave. The rain had stopped before we knew it, and with the moonlight drawing a silhouette around him, stood Gray, looking at me very coldly. Space preservation magic or Asgard? A name Apricot arbitrarily gave the spell. It isn't usually called that. Chapter 24, Wrapping Everything Up. I've been busy dealing with the aftermath. The information about Miss Schwartz's assassination attempt was kept between me, Gray, Lady Violet, Priest Snow White and the spy, who wasn't directly involved with the request. In a few days, some kind of response should come from the ducal family about this matter. However, the other citizens were told that Fenrir had wandered into Shiki. The gist of it was that Fenrir had strayed from the monster realm and ended up in Shiki, which I and Lady Violet's group worked together to defeat, and Gray and others restrained it. In reality, Fenrir was brought by Miss Schwartz after taking the uniqueness of Shiki's residence in consideration, but I can't exactly explain that. I see. I did something unforgivable to that child, Fenrir. It would certainly be better to hand over that child to ensure your mental safety. Well, it might be a suitable ending for that child. That's what Miss Schwartz said. It seems that the Fenrir she brought was rough-tempered and used to attack its own kind in near proximity. Anyway, the fact that a wild brank monster attacked the town immediately reached the neighboring towns, and they were put on high alert, fearing that other Fenrirs could attack as well. By the way, rank monsters, which are one danger level higher, are dragons and other fantasy species, so Brank can basically be said to be the symbol of the threat to the general public. A dragon is probably sleeping in the basement of the academy. Most people wouldn't know about it though. Sharing the information about the situation, investigating the area around Shiki and strengthening defenses. I also need to scrape together money for the costs associated with all this and prepare explanatory materials for the army soldiers who will be joining us in the future. If I don't get a few things done now, it'll become a hassle later on. There's no use complaining, I'm alone right now. Gray is repairing the damaged areas with magic and negotiating the handing over of the captive, while Lady Violet is resting in her room because of the effects of the magic, her injuries and a slight fever that may have been caused by getting wet in rain. She calmed down and went to sleep, so I'm working while I can, but in any case, I have to do what I can do by myself at the moment. Lord CLO, I've compiled the documents. All you have to do is sign it. As I was drafting documents, locked in a glaring contest with the paper, Lady Violet came to hand me the documents she had put together. When I took a look at them, they turned out to be extremely helpful documents that I hadn't done yet. As expected, she's excellent. I want to learn from her too. Oh, thank you very much, Lady Violet. Ha. Why is Lady Violet here? Oh, I see. She's here to help me. I'm very grateful. Wait, why are you here? You need to sleep. I dropped the documents I was about to accept and stood up vigorously. She should have been sleeping quietly just a few hours ago. Why is she working now? Did the person who was keeping watch over you come here so you forced yourself to get up? No, that person was originally planning to leave this place in a month. Besides, they don't seem to be paying much attention to me because of yesterday's commotion. Is it really okay for somebody to monitor her just for a month? It's definitely not good for multiple people to be here all the time, but I was convinced that 1 or 2 people were supposed to be watching her in secret. But then, why is Lady Violet here? I'm only here because, well, there's something I want to confirm. Something you want to confirm? Miss Violet's face was faintly dyed red and she seemed reluctant to speak. Her face didn't seem to be red from fever. Maybe she's embarrassed. It's about what happened yesterday. I remember up to the point when you handed me the ring, but my memory is fuzzy after that. Thinking back to yesterday, not only did I see her in a vulnerable state, I even saw her crying. It must have been unbearably embarrassing for her. Yeah, I mean, I get it, since she was out of control and kept doing things she'd never do usually, like trying to take off her clothes, demanding a kiss and a piggyback. Well, she did take off her clothes on the first day of our meeting, so I can't really comment much about it, but that was due to her desperation, so it doesn't count. By the way, as it turned out, all of them, including Cyan and Apricot, seemed to have been acting crazy because of the fever, though I think it was normal behavior for those two. Though it was probably not just due to the fever, but also the unknown magic. I have been wondering if whatever happened yesterday was my delusion, that I accepted the ring in my delusion and that it was a ring that I made myself and put it on myself. Isn't that too sad? If it was true, she would have had serious mental problems. But, I see. So you thought it was a dream? No. I remember your words, Lord CLO. I'm on your side, so let's support each other as a family. You're the one I want, that's what you said. Stop. Don't remind me. I'm happy that she remembered it, but now that I'm not on midnight high anymore, it makes me want to cover my face with my hands. But I still can't help being anxious. I'm unsociable, can't see my surroundings, I'm arrogant in a paper airplane. Does this person understand what a paper airplane is? Amethyst Paper Airplane is a nickname from fans, albeit I doubt anybody from this world would call her that. I did call her that before though. Besides, Lady Violet might be talking about her faults, but I also have many bad qualities. What are you talking about? I also have a lot of bad qualities, and nobody is perfect, right? However, if there is something you would like me to fix, I will try my best to fix it. So. Lady Violet seemed to be having a hard time saying the rest of the words. I wonder what comes after that, so. Will you please not abandon me? Yeah, for now that part is something I want fixed, so I'll have her fix it. Wouldn't I be just taking advantage of her weakened state and making her dependent on me at this rate? To start with, I don't mind if you leave me, Lady Violet. No, I owe you a debt of gratitude, Lord CLO. I could never. You are not my property. I'm not going to tell her to absolutely obey my orders just because I saved her or to stay by my side for the rest of her life. I won't be arrogant enough to say that I want to become a convenient and beloved existence for her just because I saved her once or twice. If you want to run away, you can do so. If you want to abandon me, you can do it, and if you want to be selfish, you can be selfish. I want to fall in love with Violet Heartfield with all of that included. And there's also the fact that originally I only saw Lady Violet as a game character. So I want to know. We probably both have qualities that we don't like in each other, but I want to live as a family with all of those included. I'm sorry. I made another mistake. It's fine. In fact, considering your usual work efficiency, if I don't lecture you at a time like this, I'll lose my position. It's okay to show more and more of your weaknesses. Lecture, you say? Foo-foo. Ah, she laughed. I'm glad. She had steeled herself and didn't laugh much, so I'd be happy if she could stay smiling. Anyway, as for the main reason why I came here. After clearing her throat, Lady Violet took my left hand. I don't think you've heard my reply yet. She looked straight at me again and gave me a soft smile. I might cause you many troubles, but I look forward to staying with you for a long time. I will also stay by your side, so let's support each other together, she replied in an unusually polite tone while touching my ring. Chapter 25, Something of an Interlude, Gray's Observation. It's going to be 4 years since I started living in the same house as my master and father, Lord CLO. I have no memories associated with my birth parents. I was living my days groveling in the slums since I was aware of my surroundings, and if my memory serves me, I was kidnapped when I was 5 and became the property of Shiki's previous lord. Compared to back then, my living conditions have improved considerably. Without being beaten, or forced to wear the slave collar and having been given a family name, taught to read and write and how to wield magic. Though, I did learn everything Lord CLO could teach me in 3 days, he got pretty grumpy about it. However, Lord CLO is quite athletic, or rather, an excellent fighter. He doesn't seem to realize it himself as he's lost to magic several times, but in regards to combat abilities he's the best in all of Shiki. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to beat the Fenrir barehanded even with it having lost one eye. And if I had to comment on his peculiar characteristics, it would be the fact that he mumbles odd things at times and that he's not very aristocratic. Maybe I can't say this about him, since I'm something of a noble myself, but compared to other nobles who visit at times or the previous lord/employer, he feels closer to a commoner. Recently, I gained a mother. She's called Lady Violet. She's the beautiful young daughter of an Ixtuk and she has lavender hair. She arrived in Shiki with a broken heart and I couldn't see any of the arrogant attitude she was infamous for. And even now, I would find it hard to say she acts haughty. Lately, I often see her sport a satisfied smile whenever she looks at the ring on her hand. Beautiful, both in appearance and conduct, she had an excellent academic background, magic abilities, and many other qualities which invoke admiration and respect. She's aristocratic in the truest sense while Lord CLO isn't. Though I refer to her as mother, she's but 4 years older, hence making us look weird from an outside standpoint. We are obviously not related by blood, and as we don't resemble each other in the least, anyone looking in would think a sister was playing with her younger relative at best. I gave it much thought and came to the decision that the relationship between us needs to be one of parent and child and that we should play house. I'll try relaying my decision to Sister Cyan next time I see her and hear her thoughts. That said, she's a little distant with me compared to Lord CLO, and I'm not sure if that's because I'm an ex-slave, but it makes me rather sad. That's what my mother and father are like, but Sister Cyan says they don't really act like a couple. I don't know much about marriage. I've observed the residents of Shiki, but since I'm a stranger to their behavior behind closed walls, I can only imagine how a married couple are supposed to be like. Speaking of, back then during the incident with Schwartz, Lord CLO almost gave me 3 mothers. Perhaps one wife isn't enough to satisfy Lord CLO. Come to think of it, in a story I read before, the male protagonist was approached by several women and he had a romantic relationship with all of them. It's possible that Lord CLO also yearns to live such a life. Apricot refers to such a man as a clueless dense harem guy. If Lord CLO wishes to be such a person, then I shall call him by that and cheer him on. Either way, it makes me a bit sad that my precious family isn't acting normal. So, I inquired Priest Snow White on what I should do. Let's see. I have never gone out with a woman, so I'm not the best person to ask for advice, but is that still alright with you? I replied that I was okay with it and waited for the priest's advice. I think they need to make time to sit down and have a heart-to-heart talk. Create an opportunity to get to know each other without time or work getting in the way. I see. An opportunity to communicate. It's true that ever since their relationship started to change, they've been so occupied with dealing with the aftermath of the Fenrir incident that I feel like they haven't had many chances to talk. It's probably a good idea to create an opportunity for said communication to happen. Come to think of it, a hot spring apparently popped up nearby recently. I hear a hot spring is akin to a natural bath and that it's big enough to accommodate several people. Lord CLO was wondering if the townspeople or tourists could make use of it, if a path was somehow laid leading up to it. Meaning, if the problem of the path was resolved, it's possible to make use of the hot spring. And I heard this from Lord Kaki. That, in order for a man and a woman to strengthen their relationship, it was crucial to see each other naked. Taking a bath together means neither of them will have any clothes on and they can have a nice, long talk without time or work getting in their way. It's the perfect opportunity. Alright, I should go propose the idea right away. Make hay while the sun shines, as they say. I sought out Lady Violet and put forward my idea. Go to the hot spring with Lord CLO. 2 can't. I know it's not odd for couples to do something like that together, but there's an order to everything. Moreover, I have very little experience bathing with other people. During bath time, other than when she was a child, Lady Violet typically seemed to have had a maid on standby outside the door, and hence hadn't had much experience with taking a bath with others present in the room. In her words, take care of your own needs, never expose yourself to others in a vulnerable state, seems to have been the root of the education she received. But it might be a good idea for us to take one together. To be honest, I've felt a distance between us. It might be good to find a place to chat leisurely. Does that mean a parent and child aren't strangers? I was feeling a bit left out, but I am happy seeing her trying to reach out this way. I'm a bit bad at approaching people. I'm always searching their faces, worried that they would hate me. However, both I and Lady Violet wish to get to know each other better, and if she's taking a step forward, then it's only right that I meet her halfway. I hear it's normal in a family for a mother and son to take baths together, and I've taken many baths with Lord CLO during the beginning stages of our relationship. Those times really helped calm my nerves. Alright then, I'll make use of this chance to strengthen our bond as mother and son. Then let's do that next time. It'll make me nervous to do it for the first time with someone of the opposite sex. So let me start with you and then take it from there. I wonder why. Something about Lady Violet's words felt off. Even as I felt something wasn't right, I made a promise to have a bath together with Lady Violet someday. Chapter 26, Something of an Interlude, Cyan's Consultation Reception. Cyan's Consultation Reception. I once punched the archbishop who had laid his hands on the believers and was sent to Shiki. At that time, there was nobody to protect me, and even when I was sent to a remote area, because public punishment would cause many problems, I had prepared myself to quit being a sister if this was God's intention. But once I actually started living in Shiki, I found the life here very satisfying. The air is fresh and the food is delicious. The few children here love me, and more importantly, there aren't any priests, bishops or annoying colleagues, sisters, who look down on me. Human relationships in the kingdom didn't suit me. At first, I was worried because Shiki is a rural area, which tends to be xenophobic, but there was a different kind of perversion. I mean, challenges in Shiki, so my concerns quickly disappeared. Anyway, enough talking about myself. I still continue my work as a sister in Shiki. I hold mass, pray, take care of people's health and teach the people of Shiki how to write. Among those jobs, there is one important job that the priest and I do in turns. Consultation about CLO. Yes, it's counseling or listening to confessions. It happens less in Shiki, where there aren't many people around, than when I was in the capital, but that doesn't mean it doesn't happen at all. It's usually something like soothing a crying child who had a fight with their parents and hearing them out, or listening to the complaints about the husband who often doesn't return home. The rest are key stories about War and Mr. Yellow's dubious heroic tales. You want to become closer to CLO? You guys are married, right? It's because we're married. Meanwhile, today I was consulting Io about her relationship with her husband. According to her, recently she had expressed her desire to become closer as a married couple with her husband, but because she had been so busy dealing with the aftermath of the Fenrir ordeal, that she hasn't been able to do it in practice. No, she has been trying to do it, but she kept getting cold feet at the most important time. That's why she came to consult with me about what to do. On the contrary, I'm the one who wants to know a way for people of opposite sexes to get closer. I also want to become closer with the priest as a woman. He's still formal with me even though he talks casually to you and Gray. Albeit it might be my fault for not telling him that there was no need to talk formally in the beginning. Io says that this is the thing she's particularly concerned about. Not that I think about it, CLO speaks formally to Io, who's younger than him. Generally, CLO talks politely to older people and the guests, and speaks somewhat informally to younger people. Once he gets to know them to some extent, he stops using a formal tone with older people too. He probably started using formal tone with Io because she's from a ducal family, and he's decided that it's not the right time to stop using honorifics. Io seems to have perceived that as him keeping distance from her. But wasn't that ring given to you as a surprise gift? Isn't it proof that CLO cares about you, Io? Yeah. This ring honestly made me happy. Not only did he save me from my lowest point, he also thought of me and gave me a present. It's proof that we're a married couple. I want to treasure it forever. Did you come here as a prank under the guise of consultation? No. That's not it. I am here to ask your advice because we have not been able to do anything that married couples do in my knowledge. I can understand that CLO's been cherishing Io, but he needs to take another step forward. I wonder if Io had a bitter experience in the past. I have a feeling that they won't become closer if she doesn't become honest with herself. And she doesn't seem to be aware whether she likes CLO as the opposite sex or not. It seems to me that they're trying to start a romantic relationship after getting married. Well, noble marriages are like that, I guess. Maybe it's enough that both of them are trying to get along with each other. Ha, don't tell me you guys haven't even kissed ye. Ah. Aw. Ha ha ha. Wait, for real. When I made a joking remark, Io averted her face, as if to say, come to think of it, that's exactly right. Wow, is this married couple serious? No matter how sudden the marriage was, they still haven't even kissed. Are they pretending to be in a platonic relationship? Or is that how noble marriages usually are? I wonder if I'm just not Lord CLO's type. That's unlikely. It's obvious that CLO likes Io's physical appearance. He was also praising her personality, saying that it had the nobility that he lacked, so he shouldn't dislike her. But, in that case, why is he not laying a hand on her? Even if he's taking her feelings into consideration, a kiss at least. Why don't you just sneak into his bed? Just take off your clothes in front of him. I did that on the first day. He turned me down. You actually did it. I was half joking, but Io turned out to be more proactive and adult than I thought. After asking about the details, he seemed to have seen through her self-abandonment and rejected her. That's admirable of him and also a good thing to do if it ended up saving Io, but it's unexpected that he was able to stop himself from being carried away in front of the arguably most attractive and feminine body in Shiki. Maybe CLO himself is more maybe. Don't tell me CLO's a lolicon. What? Io's eyes widened in shock at my statement. CLO occasionally enjoys talking with Key about their preferences in women, so it's not like he's absolutely not interested in ladies. However, maybe the fact that he can hold back his sexual desires in front of Io means that he's interested in the exact opposite type of her body, the bodies of the children which symbolize the admiration of life. I said that Io's body was his type just a moment ago. Well, don't sweat the small details. At first he might have rejected you because he could see through your feelings, but it's strange that he still hasn't kissed you until now. Yeah, it's too strange. They're married, so she shouldn't be worried about what others think and should even be blessed instead. She should become more proactive. What? You're asking if it's okay for a sister to encourage people to act on their sexual desires. It's all fine as long as they don't overdo it. I also want to kiss the priest and marry him. According to the teachings, it's all good as long as it's consensual and we don't overindulge. In that case, what should I? No, I should respect Lord CLO's preferences. Even if it includes young children, the same sex, animals, monsters, or the undead. Wow, you're pretty open-minded, Io. Is she alright? Isn't Io just forcing herself to accept it? Is there any way to solve this? Now that I think about it, recently it opened up near Shiki. Oh yeah. I have an idea. But that's not good, Io. You not only have to recognize it, but also correct it if it's a crime. In other words, you mean. That's right. You have to make him realize how attractive you are so he'll have absolutely no interest in other people. I think that we should respect each individual's choice of romantic partner, but the problem right now is the husband who's making his lovely wife worry so much. In other words, you have to guide CLO as his wife so he doesn't go down the path of crime. Yeah, that's true. And now that his walls are starting to come down, there's a chance that he'll start seeing you as the opposite sex. I see. That's why. If you aggressively approach him now, CLO might not be able to hold himself back. Then what should I do? Leave it to me. I will prepare the perfect situation for you. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Cyan. That's right, Hot Spring has recently opened near Shiki. If she takes advantage of that, even CLO will have to become conscious of her. Well, he's probably simply not conscious of her because he's busy, so if he's pressed now, he should be willing to do it. He's caused Io so much trouble, he should repent a little. Chapter 27, somewhat of an interlude, the results of observation and consultation. This is a good hot spring. A mysterious hot spring near Shiki. There I was soaking in hot water alone. It's a natural hot spring in the truest sense of this word, without any roof or walls, and could be called open in a sense. In a way, it reminds me of Japanese hot springs from my previous life. I didn't frequent them much, though. The hot spring water quality is unknown, but the research showed that it wasn't harmful, so I'm considering whether to draw hot water or open it up for the Shiki citizens who don't have a bathtub. I wonder if Cyan will properly bring me a change of clothes. As for the reason why I'm soaking in the hot spring, it's because my clothes are dirty. We heard that a monster we'd never seen before was spotted, so a few of us checked the surrounding area. As I was patrolling the area with Cyan. Oopsie, my foot slipped. Hiya. She had a bad fall while taking me down with her. As a result, I ended up being caught under, dove into the muddy soil and got mud all over me. By the way, Cyan was relatively unscathed. I thought I heard a strange yell, but the person herself said that she hadn't done it on purpose and suggested that if I wanted to wash the mud off, I should do it at the nearby hot spring since we were already close. She said that she would bring me the change of clothes herself. I did tell her that I didn't mind returning to my mansion like this, but God's envoy is telling you that she will bring you a change of clothes, so just wait obediently. If you won't, I'll strip off your clothes here and now. Cyan threatened me with a look of compassion that she only showed during a prayer or a confession. Usually she would sweep things under the rug with a simple sorry, so what is she plotting? She even dutifully prepared a towel too. Phew. It's been a while since I've been able to take it easy. I soaked a towel in hot water, wrung it lightly and placed it over my face. It's something an old man would do, but no one is watching, so it's fine. But still, what is Cyan up to? My birthday is still a long way off, and it's not like it's an anniversary of any kind. I doubt she's preparing a surprise party at home. Then, she really just slipped. Did you enter first, Gray? A voice called out to me from behind. It was a woman's voice. A pleasant and dignified voice that I've become familiar with over this past month and often heard it at my mansion. I only know one person with a voice like this. Sorry. I came with Miss Cyan, but she had a bad fall. I came here to wash off the mud, but the familiar person who entered before me she mentioned must have been you after all, Gray. Perhaps because the steam is a bit dense, she can't see who's inside. For some reason the woman seemed to think that I was Gray. I heard the sound of clothes rubbing. It sounded like she was coming towards me. Once I removed the towel that was covering my face, there was. Now that we're both here, we can fulfill the promise we made earlier. Greetings, Lady Violet. The water temperature is very nice. Lord CLO. Lady Violet, with just a towel wrapped around her body. Cyan, you better remember this. Before I knew it, I found myself soaking in the hot spring together with Lady Violet. Adhering strictly to the rule that it's bad manners to soak the towel in hot water, we were soaking in the hot spring together while wearing nothing at all, keeping a distance of one person between us. What's more, our clothes had disappeared before we knew it, so we were both stuck in an awkward atmosphere, unable to leave. It's a nice hot spring. Yeah, it's a little too hot, but this much is just right. If this place was made public, it would be a nice location. Yeah, you're right. What do you want me to do? No, calm down. Calm down, CLO Heartfield. In your previous life, you lived in a studio with your sister, and you had many opportunities to touch and see women's bodies because of your work, didn't you? It's not like you're not accustomed to women, you just have to deal with it without panic. Lord CLO. Lady Violet touched my body from behind and drew closer to me. What should I do? Now that I think about it, I lived with my younger sister, so I never looked at her as the opposite sex. I've only ever touched women at work because it was more convenient and I never saw them in a perverse light. I can hear my heart pounding. If this was Cyan, I'd have dealt with her differently, but because it's Lady Violet, I can't help feeling nervous. I don't know why Lady Violet suddenly became so proactive, but I just hope she doesn't realize how nervous I am. Phew, it's like that. Now that we're like this, rather than thinking that we might as well skip the kissing stage and do what I wanted to do on my first day here, I keep getting embarrassed when I think of what I tried to do on the first day, and now, please calm down. However, Lady Violet was clearly more panicked. How is she more nervous than me after bringing it up herself? I wonder if somebody gave her the idea. Foo, what are you talking about? It's not strange for a married couple to show their naked bodies to each other and be in close contact with one another. Your voice is trembling like hell. It is not. Please don't push yourself. Lady Violet's voice was obviously shaking. I feel like it was written in some book that when you see people who are more nervous than you are, you calm down. Now I know that it refers to the exact situation I'm in. Well then, now that I've calmed down a little, let's sort out the situation. Yeah, I shouldn't worry about the sensation I'm feeling from my back. All I have to do is fully focus on memorizing it to remember it later. Did you consult Cyan about something? Phew, what might you be talking about? Was that an imitation of Ms. Schwartz? Knowing Cyan, she must have gotten the wrong idea. Even so, hiding our clothes and getting us covered in mud is too much, so I'll snitch to the priest later. However, the fact that she consulted Cyan means that. Did I do something wrong? What was that? My own words just now irritated me. It felt weird coming from me, who has memories from my previous life, as if I shouldn't have said that. No, you haven't done anything wrong, Lord CLO. Lady Violet muttered in a voice that seemed like it would disappear at any moment, as she put her face against my back, most likely in embarrassment. I only consulted with her about our relationship. I wanted to get closer to you, Lord CLO. Yeah, that's adorable. Very adorable. It's an adorableness different from her usual dignified self. She's just so adorable and I'm happy that she's going to such lengths for me and she's so adorable and cute and sweet. Alright, I can do it now. I don't know what exactly that means, but I feel like I can do it now and Lady Violet will also allow me to. I'll turn to her right this instant and... so you went ahead, milady. I came to the hot spring after hearing about it from Lady Apricot. Oh, you were here too, Lord CLO. However, the moment we heard that voice, Lady Violet and I hurriedly separated. As we turned towards the direction of the voice, it turned out to be Gray. When he confirmed our presence, Gray also started taking off his clothes, and was about to join us. I can't decide if I was saved or if I missed out. Ooh, it was you, Gray. Come to think of it, we'd promised to go in together before. Great timing. Let's have quality family time, Toj. There. Ms. Violet looked at Gray and froze. By the way, Gray dutifully followed the hot spring etiquette I taught him before and wrapped a towel around his waist after taking off his clothes. Gray. Yes, what's wrong? About your chest. Yes. Do you mean this scar? I'm sorry, but it's a scar that won't go away even after being healed. Gray's scar is a small scar on his chest inflicted on him by the previous lord. It's not painful to look at, but it's not inconspicuous either. Is that what's bothering her? No, I mean. Your chest. Yes. So you were. A boy, Gray. Pardon. I'm sorry, all this time. I was convinced you were a girl. Gray and I thought for a few seconds. Way out. And let out a shocked voice at the same time. Author's note. The woman with good voice. She has the same voice as the same actress who voiced her in the Autumn game, so her voice is naturally good. Chapter 28. It all started with a decree. The army will be arriving here. Yes. It was early afternoon with the sun high up in the sky. Gray, my secretary, welcomed me with the sudden news when I returned home. Monsters are expected to become more active with the appearance of a Fenrir, hence the surrounding area is to be investigated and extermination is to be carried out if necessary, was the gist of it. A probe team was dispatched from the neighboring town to investigate the incident earlier and based on a report written with the help of data collected in advance, investigation of the surrounding areas and after a couple of days of sojourn, it had judged the town clean. Moreover, there's a reason why the Fenrir attacked us. It's been over 3 weeks since the Fenrir appeared and the incident with Ms. Schwartz. What do they mean to accomplish? After all this time? Who knows? I can only think that they mean to reinvestigate Shiki on the points you mentioned earlier. And you say the army personnel will include knights as well? Yes. Members of the Order of Knights are also designated as military personnel in this country, but only nobles among them have the privilege of becoming knights and they are the honorary cream of the crop consisting of a select few elites. Having said that, if one were to ask if the system was corrupted, then they should likely not expect an answer. Nevertheless, there are many respectable knights and quite many in the order are rumored to have difficult personalities. And such elites are supposed to arrive all the way here to investigate these boondocks. For now, all I can say is this. Why? Your guess is as good as mine. I and Gray exchanged glances, completely puzzled. Their intention is to steal the credit for subduing the Fenrir from us. That's a solid possibility. Seated as a family of 3, we were enjoying the lunch Lady Violet had prepared when she replied as such after hearing the news. You're joking. No. Why? For all intents and purposes, it was just a hypothesis apparently. Rumors that a Fenrir had showed up in the vicinity quickly spread to the neighboring towns at first. We were the only ones aware that only one Fenrir had appeared, but a warning had circulated reading, "Stay on the lookout because there may be more than the one Fenrir that was subdued." The Fenrir that was subdued. Captured in Shiki, was put into a dormant state by Gray's sleep spell and handed over to the authorities. However, the towns around Shiki are still apprehensive. And hence, they are in need of reassurance. Like how Ms. Schwartz gave up the Fenrir in order to quell the worries of the townspeople here. That's right. Will the Order conduct their investigation and conclude the matter settled, or will they make a show of having subdued the Fenrir which was already captured and handed over? The citizens of the country and the neighboring towns trust the authenticity of an organization much higher in rank than the probe team. Am I right, Lady Violet? It's simple, Gray. The will of hundreds of thousands of citizens is less likely to lose to those amounting to less than 1,000, no matter what. Meaning, we lack the trust and credibility to reassure the citizens. That seems to be the case. Lady Violet appeared to be sidestepping the question, but this land is largely made up of people who have caused some kind of trouble in the past. If thousands of the other citizens happen to say, "This is the truth," then that will be taken as reality. Because these citizens have zero or at best just a smidgen of goodwill towards the troublemakers of Shiki. That said, we are only speaking of theories here. It's all well and good to hypothesize, but we can't let that make us jump at shadows. I'd like you to keep in mind that good and evil exist everywhere. I'm well aware. Expect the worst and do your best, right? It isn't bad to consider all the worst possible outcomes while making plans, but being suspicious of everything will only cloud your thinking. Meaning, take all rumors with a pinch of salt. Moreover, paused Lady Violet and looked at me distressed. Even if it had lost one eye, I still find it hard to believe that you single-handedly defeated a B-class monster. Fenrir is considered more or less average among the B-class monsters. Typically, a platoon is dispatched to deal with even the weakest of the B-class monsters. The Fenrir's injury aside, Lady Violet seems to find it difficult to believe that I defeated it all on my own. However, I was in my peak condition. I wouldn't have come out of it unscathed had it been a wild Fenrir, in which case, I would have chosen to flee if I had to face it alone. But at the time, I knew we would be in trouble if I didn't defeat it, which made me disregard a lot of other issues. Also, the fact that it was injured contributed greatly towards my decision too. But Cyan had injured its eye and snapped the tendon of the left forelimb, so it was in a rather weakened state. Hold on. I think Sister Cyan only attacked it once. Yes, and she had gouged out its eye and landed an attack that had sent shockwaves through its entire body. It must have affected its leg as well. In other words, seize your opponent's resistance in one blow, and by immediately landing another attack in succession, you can destroy them. Cyan would call it destroying the opponent from the inside out while leaving the exterior unscathed. Who on earth is Sister Cyan? A sister. Yeah, a combat type one. What does that mean anyway? A combat type sister is a berserker, who uses her bare fists to fight instead of weapons. Though, Cyan's involvement has been kept under wraps, upon her and the priest's request, in order to keep the spotlight away from her. Either way, we've got to make the necessary preparations to welcome them. We'll have to secure lodgings, stock food, and relay the news to the townspeople. Then I'll take care of the provisions and the necessary documents that we are required to produce. I'll secure the lodgings and tidy up the mansion. Then I guess it automatically falls on me to inform the townspeople, make arrangements to receive the guests and oversee everything. I suppose each of us can do other necessary work when we are done with our allotted tasks. Besides, we can't shirk our usual duties, so there's a lot to do. Oh, yeah, maybe we can make use of this chance to do that. Gray, help me out. Let's get started on what we couldn't complete before Lady Violet arrived and pruned the trees to spell out, welcome. What on earth were you two up to before I got here? You're right, Lord CLO. Didn't we abandon our plans after you mentioned it would look like a mess if we botched up the pruning? So you got as far as that? Yeah. When we attempted to get the job done, there were either weird gaps in between the letters or a few big branches had to be cut down here and there, so we had to give up. Then what do we do to welcome them? There's no need to do anything weird, as long as we take care of the lodgings. Which is why I propose we line up Gerber full moons to spell out the letters. Gray. I see, all we need to do is replant the flowers later. Alright, let's do that. Lord CLO. As both of us were fired up and ready to go pick some flowers, Lady Violet stopped us. Chapter 29, Not an Imagination. 2 days have passed since I received a report that military personnel would be arriving unexpectedly. I heard that they were scheduled to arrive by noon today, but it seems like they're running late. If I had a cell phone at times like these, would be able to check what's going on, but unfortunately there are no such convenient items in this world. Although there are means of communication through magic, it only works for recorded individuals, so I've not been able to get in contact with the army people. It's boring. Sure is. Waiting outside in hot weather for people who you don't know when they'll arrive was more boring than I'd thought. As long as we're being treated as inferior, we can't take action carelessly, so we can only wait. If they were late for a day or two without contacting us, we would be able to take some actions, but if we move while they're only late for a few hours, they'll look down on us, saying that we couldn't even wait that long. By the way, about Ms. Cyan. While I was waiting, Lady Violet approached me and spoke in a quiet voice that only we could hear. Then, she glanced towards Cyan and I also followed suit. Standing there unlike her usual hyperactive brawler sister self was. I hope the military people didn't come across problems on their way. Foo-foo. A sister with a look of compassion on her face, which made everybody who knew her usual countenance ask, who the hell is this? Usually, she would complain about having to wait for so long and would have gone somewhere, but today she was waiting obediently with her back straight and beautiful. Why is Cyan so quiet, you ask? The reason is simple. You're right, Cyan. But why don't you relax a little? Isn't being tense like that very hard? It's because Priest Snow White is with her today. Cyan likes him, so she pretends to be a good girl in front of him. Or more like, being nervous around him makes her act like that. In other words, it's a mix of embarrassment, happiness and excitement. The priest himself knows what she's like usually, but he's the kind of person who'll look at both sides of her and accept it. After all, that was how Cyan was. Even the people around don't say anything. However, no, I cannot do that. As God's humble servant, I must stay upright. How shameless. Everybody present should have thought the same thing. Lady Violet was shocked for a second. She picked herself up immediately, but as expected, even if she knew how Cyan turned in front of the priest, it's not something she can get used to right away. However, this time, it's better for Cyan to be this way. It would be a hassle if she picked a fight with the guests like before. As long as the priest is here, Cyan should be fine. Well, Cyan would have been fine to begin with. Maybe this is an unnecessary concern, but is it fine for her to act like that while wearing the usual clothes? Clothes. She didn't go on a rampage this time, so the deep slit in her skirt didn't expose anything much today. There shouldn't be any problems. You're right. You're so used to it, you thought it was normal, huh? Even without thinking about it too much, that deep slit is strange. There's something wrong with me for thinking that she would look like a normal sister just because she's quieter than usual. No, it's just her quirk, nothing else. The current Cyan won't cause any issues. What are you going to do if the priest disappears? It's her quirk. I see, her quirk. I also think that her usual state is more like herself, so it's fine even if she's quirky. Anyway. When she gets angry, she gets really angry, but she does her job well, so Cyan is still better off. As long as you don't get injured, Ivory is just an unfriendly doctor, so that's fine. The problem is the other people. For example, Khaki, who will try to woo any women within the army without any questions, or Orchid, who looks extremely sketchy. Apricot, who's wrapped up in her own world, and many others. I hope they don't cause trouble during the army's stay. Do you not need to worry about Mr. Robot? Robot is Robot. We can't give any other explanation either. Is that really okay? It's fine. It's also cruel to ask the person inside to come out. And while I'm worried that the residents of Shiki will cause trouble, I have an even bigger concern. It's the fact that the people who'll arrive soon are the soldiers of the kingdom. However, will it be okay? The army being here means that. I'll be repeating what I said yesterday, but it'll be fine. There might be some familiar faces in there, but I'm sure they won't try to do something to me carelessly. The Azalea Academy, where we originally attended, offered academic and magical education as well as combat training, and nearly half of the students belonged to the Knight Order, military. The Knights, most of whom are directly involved with the Academy, would know what happened at the Academy about 2 months ago. Some of the knights may even know details of what happened to the Duke's family. I asked Lady Violet about it, but she said that she didn't care. Even if that might have been her true feelings, I'm still worried about her. Listen, Lady Violet. If an emergency arises, you can do your usual work at the mansion without having to go outside. But won't that make them more suspicious? If we behave resolutely and be patient, they won't spread any strange rumors. That might be true, but I don't want to see you suffer any more than this. I can't just let you endure as much as you can and then suddenly break due to mental fatigue. You might say so, Lord CLO, but if I just come out to help out for a few days, my evaluation will change greatly. I'm glad that you care about me, but I also want to take good care of you, Lord CLO. Let's think about our future and work together to finish this task. You. But please don't push yourself too hard, okay? I know. Don't push yourself too hard either, Lord CLO. You don't have to deal with it all by yourself, you can rely on me too. Saying so, Lady Violet put her right hand on her own chest and appealed that I could rely on her. I am older than her, but her confident gesture had an even greater air of dependability than me. Okay, I won't overdo it, but I'll show you how dependable I am as the Lord here. However, if I can't do something by myself, I will be relying on you. I see, I look forward to seeing it. I will also rely on you and support you when needed. Yes. It will be a demonstration of my abilities to somewhat bring together troublemakers of Shiki and eliminate the injustices of my predecessors. You have never sounded more convincing. I said, and we both had a small laugh. That's right. There were times when Lady Violet was in a weakened mental state, but she's not someone I can't rely on. We should support each other in areas where we are lacking. I've been looking forward to Lady Violet's cooking these days, and we'll have to overcome this situation just to not lose this enjoyment. Stop flirting in front of me, you bastards. And as we were talking together, Cyan warned us with a benevolent smile on her face. Is the sound of her knuckles cracking my imagination? Chapter 30, One Attention Seeker Too Many. We had entered the season where the days were warmer while cold sometimes crept in after the sun went down. Apparently, it was going to be a cold evening tonight and it felt a bit chilly when the wind blew. Lady Violet, are you cold? No. I can handle this much. I replied, all right, and stared absent-mindedly in the direction the army was supposed to make their entrance. We were engaged in a word game until a moment ago, but I'm already bored of it. Maybe I should have brought a book so I could have passed the time reading it. Had there been no knights in the party, I could have simply waited for them to call upon me. Since that isn't the case, I have no choice but to personally welcome them as their station is above mine. If they don't arrive in a while, feel free to go back home everyone. As I wasn't sure of their ETA, I'd let Grey, Lady Violet, Priest Snow White and the others know that they could go back if they wanted, but they chose to conscientiously wait along with me. That said, I wonder why they are running late. I hope they haven't gotten the dates mixed up as it was in Lady Violet's case. Just when the hell will they arrive? I think Cyan's nearing her limit. Despite the priest being present, her choice of words clearly revealed her true colors. The priest did ask her to watch her language, but he seemed to have found himself bored and started reading the Bible. He even seemed to slightly nod in agreement. Hey, CLO. When will the female military personnel get here? If they don't show up quickly, then all the arrangements I have made, to have a nice evening out, would go to waste. Just leave. Well, if they aren't coming, I guess I just need to find a lady around here. By then, I've got to go put out some feelers, As I continued to wait, Kaki appeared, said his piece and smiled as if he reached an agreement with himself and left the place. What the hell did he come here for? So long as no one engages him, he won't bother the military women, so I can just ignore him for now. I'll just ask his chaperone to keep him on a leash later. Ha, the putrid Pale Riders are still wandering the abyss. Very well, I shall patrol the borders with the magic I newly invented named Invisible Dark. Listen to me. Just go home. And so, Apricot threw on her cape with a flourish, got hold of her wand and struck a pose. What's with these people? Did they make plans to meet here? Lady Apricot, could you please tell me what kind of spell this Invisible Dark is? Wonderful question, my dear disciple. Despite someone being physically present in a place, this spell, which is untraceable through detection magic, is, probably, capable of erasing their presence. Oh wow, that sounds magnificent, I wouldn't expect any less from you, Lady Apricot. Grace sang her praises with his eyes shining while Apricot's cape fluttered in the wind and she looked very smug. Lady Violet sent me a look which seemed to ask if it was all right to leave them be, but as Apricot really does end up pulling off the impossible at times, I can't really refute her, and since they seem to be having fun, I didn't want to put a stop to it. CLO. Seeing as how you're still here, I take it the army is yet to arrive. Yeah. They seem to be running late. For goodness sake, what else can you expect from the military? Don't tell me they are late because they got into trouble. Meaning there could be people who are hurt, I need to rush to them. Don't try to run off as if you just received a divine oracle. Hey, let me go. Injuries and wounds await me. Do these guys simply have too much time to spare? I hope they aren't acting up because I haven't been paying them any attention. After everyone made an effort to stop her, Ivory somehow reluctantly left the place. Mwahaha, CLO. This is a device that will automatically shine light onto darkness. You don't need to constantly feed it mana, but as long as you jumpstart it with a bit of mana, it will continue to light up its vicinity for a long period of time. Ah, is that what I requested to be made after the Fenrir incident? Thank you. Mwahaha. This is the operating manual. Also the nights are getting colder, so I got this to keep you guys warm. Thanks. I'll pay for the lamp the next time we meet. Orchid handed over the lamp made with newly improved firestone, passed around warm drinks to everyone and left, laughing. His black, pet cat was at his side and it also seemed to meow in tandem. Dear me. I know he's not a bad person, but I just can't get used to him. I can't blame her since he totally looks like an evil sorcerer scheming to overthrow the government. Even just now, he magically popped up out of the shadows. However, compared to the rest, I'm so much more grateful for him. The black tea is also warm and delicious. I placed the cup on the ground after finishing it, and watched it disintegrate and dissolve into the earth, leaving no trace behind. As convenient as it looks. I wonder about the trick behind it. Ah, looks like they are here. The priest closed the Bible, looked in the direction of their arrival and announced their coming. Honestly, all I could make out were blurry movements in the distance, but obviously the priest's vision seems to be the sharpest among us, so he must be right. Is something the matter, Father? I wonder what puzzled the priest, for he gazed at military personnel in bewilderment. Upon Cyan questioning him, he looked worried for a minute before answering. Well, they seem a little too young to be in the army, and I think they are dressed differently too. Young and dressed differently? Is it a group of tourists or worst case, a band of robbers? But yeah, he's right that something's weird. They were within my range of sight and yes, they were dressed differently. There were two groups of people fully dressed in black and another in white, and there were also girls wearing skirts among them. Moreover, they were young. They definitely don't look like army. Oh, is that? They don't look like military personnel. There's no way they could. They were clad in the government-funded academy issue uniform that separated nobles and commoners by color, and it's also what I had to put on until a few years prior. In short, it was the uniform of Azalea Academy. Meaning, the ones who had arrived were students of Azalea Academy. Please forgive us, we got into a spot of trouble and arrived later than planned. We are. For Lady Violet, it's the academy she attended up until 2 months ago. Why? Are you here, Violet Valentine? Meaning she was faced with people she never wanted to meet again. Chapter 31, It's Not Over Yet. The delegation of about a dozen people, all wearing uniforms that I myself had worn until just recently and followed by a horse-drawn carriage pulling their big luggage, were all people I knew well. The ones I've had the most interactions with were the 2 men at the front. Why are you here, Violet Valentine? Tall and slender body. Brownish hair with a tint of blue, which would be considered long for a man. His normally soft black eyes were sharply glaring at me. A few people in the back looked at me with the same disgust, and the rest looked around in confusion. The people showing a particular dislike for me are His Highness Close Attendant, Ash Austin, who spoke confrontationally to me. Do you not even want to bother with a reply, Valentine? And Chartreuse Calvin, with short dark green hair, who glared at me with his originally sharp and almond-shaped eyes. His well-trained body was poised in an alert position. Before, he would have referred to me politely as Lady, as would be expected from the son of the Knight Commander, but now he doesn't seem to want to do that anymore. Many people are openly showing their hostility towards me. It's a different kind of hostility from Schwartz, more similar to displeasure and disgust. Just like that time merely 2 months ago, I can't find the words to reply to the feelings directed towards me by the crowd. Don't you ever appear in front of us again. Calm down. Calm down, Violet. Didn't you just promise Lord CLO that you would work together? I must act firm. Even if there are 2 people who showed clear hostility towards me at that time without simply being opportunistic, now being vigilant against me, I have to turn forward. I have never loved you. Why? Even though I understand that I must act fearlessly. I keep remembering His Highness' words again and again. I can't speak. I don't know what to say. My body trembles slightly and the eyes on me are making me shirk into myself. Why am I always such a weak woman? Excuse me, I am CLO Heartfield, the lord of this land. You appear to be the students of Azalea Academy, but what business has brought you to Shiki today? Lord CLO stood in front of me, as I was unable to say a word, covering me and diverting my focus from the malicious gazes. I've been protected by this back all the time. Oh, so you were the Lord. Please excuse my impoliteness. After Lord CLO stood in front of me, Ash released his pressure on me, returned to his usual countenance with a soft smile and began to explain the details of what they were doing here. Azalea Academy First Year, Representative Ash Austin, accompanied by 14 people. We have arrived, albeit late, to investigate and subjugate monsters. As Ash finished his greetings, the students behind him straightened their backs and saluted as if they were soldiers, albeit a bit out disorderly, perhaps because they weren't used to it. In other words, you guys came for the investigation instead of the soldiers. Pardon. Yes, we will be investigating monsters in the surrounding area as a part of practical training. Have you not been notified of this? As they were exchanging information, Ash had a wondering look on his face. According to him, in order for the students to gain experience, Azalea Academy divided the students into multiple groups and sent them to investigate and fight together. To avoid the collapse of teamwork due to the differences in social status or gender, the teams were formed as a mix of both genders, nobles and commoners. And it seems that their particular group was sent to Shiki. I see. I understand the situation. What was that? For a moment Lord CLO's expression changed to something I've never seen before. It wasn't fatigue or doubt, but rather irritation. By the way, after they finished exchanging information, Ash once again looked at me, as I was hiding behind Lord CLO's back. He was looking at me with contempt that was different from before, as if looking at a criminal. That. Fo ha 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 ha. But before he could speak, Ash's words were interrupted by the fluttering sound of the cloak and a loud laugh. Fu, welcome, the great Applegate, who are no inferior to pale riders. Come forward, ye who are ready to witness the mad sonata crowned with darkness and fire, performed by yours truly, who has defied the divine hegemony. I will pass judgment on ye with my own hands. Apricot, who had been showing off her magic to Grey and moved to the back when Ash's group arrived, moved to the front and started spouting incomprehensible words. However, even though she was saying strange things as usual, I feel like she's different from her usual self. Excuse me, what is she saying? As expected, the students, including Ash, were looking at her with confused expressions and were discussing among each other how to interact with her. Seeing this, Apricot sighed, as if she was astonished, and shrugged. Phew, to think that you couldn't even understand this level of mana. Let us go, my retainers. There is no point in speaking to people who cannot rise to my expectations. We shall leave them to the Lord. Apricot turned her back at Ash's group and left while laughing loudly. Who exactly are her retainers in this context? Lady Violet, Cyan, I'm sorry but please look after Apricot. There's no way of knowing what she will do if left alone. Looking at the departing Apricot, Lord CLO asked us apologetically. Oh, I see. Apricot's performance was just a way to let me get away from this place. I had very little doubts because it didn't look strange for her to act this way, but it's true that I made her worry about me. I understand, Lord CLO. Yes, sir. Father and the students of Azalea Academy, please forgive me for having to leave you. Let's go, Io. I bowed my head lightly while Cyan smiled and bowed as she bid them farewell before we left. Ash and Chartreuse seemed to want to say something in response, but... Well then, please let me show you to your lodgings. If there are no problems with your denomination, we would like you to stay at the church where I serve. Would that be okay? Yes, I understand. Char, were there people from a different denomination here? No, none. I've already checked in advance. Understood. Well then, everyone, please follow me. I will bring the horses to our private stable. Lord CLO and the father put themselves between us, and with Grey chiming in from the side, their gazes moved elsewhere and they were interrupted. Pathetic. I ended up having to borrow strength from everybody present. But more than that, I'm more concerned about what I should do from tomorrow onwards. As the thoughts kept going round and round in my head, I suppressed the feeling of nausea and followed Ms. Cyan. Really pathetic. It's really Vi, after all. Chapter 32, Surprise Attack. In the noisy church, while the students around me were organizing their luggage and being led to their rooms, I was talking with two students. The above-mentioned are the main facilities of Shiki and the natural situation in the surrounding area. Thank you very much, Baron Heartfield. After relaying the information about Shiki to the student representative named Ash, who was dressed in a black school uniform, I bowed. I'm older than him in terms of age and an alumni from his academy, but he outranks me in status, so I have to be courteous. Ash Austin. He's a childhood friend and a varlet of His Highness Vermilion, the main love interest in Ring of Fire. Even though he's a varlet, he himself is from a marquis family and has sufficient power within the Austin family. He's composed, gentlemannered, kind to women and popular at Azalea Academy. However, as is typical for characters like him, he's rather blackheart and will do anything for His Highness. Also, I think one of the things that made him popular was his informal tone that he only used with people he was close to. I remember my younger sister rejoicing when watching that event. "I'm sorry, Baron. Is there a blacksmith or arms dealer here?" "Yes, although if it's a proper blacksmith you need, you would be out of luck. They're a bit of a difficult person, so would you like me to introduce you to them? Can I leave it to you?" Chartreuse, who was wearing a black uniform and also listening to the information about Shiki, asked me with a slightly worried look on his face. After I told him about the location and that I would be escorting him tomorrow, he simply nodded with an "I see." Chartreuse Calvin. Similarly, he's also one of the love interests. He's sometimes called Char by people close to him. He's the son of the current knight commander, who is hailed as the master swordsman. He trains every day with his Japanese sword, that exists in this world for some reason, while enduring the pressure from his master swordsman father. He's unsociable, straight-laced. He's somewhat mentally fragile. And he secretly has a sweet tooth. He's a person with a lot of characteristics for some reason. I remember that when I criticized him for being calculating, my younger sister replied with, "No, the girls in the games you play are like that too." At that time, for the first time in my life, I learned how it feels to be shut up with a single sentence. Once again, I apologize for being late. Share. Him wanting to take care of his beloved sword is a part of it too, but we were attacked by monsters on the way. No, I'm simply glad that you all were safe. The reason why they were late was because they were attacked by a horde of monsters on their way to Shiki. When I asked for the characteristics of those monsters, they all seemed to be local, so it's not like it was an abnormal situation, but haven't monsters started to leave their dwellings and attack people a bit too often lately? By the way, are there other things we should be careful about? Like, local customs unique to this land or natural disasters? When you're walking outside at night, an evil-looking mage might appear from the shadows while laughing suspiciously. You might see a sister climb to the top of this church with her bare hands. You might also see somebody sleeping while holding a long sword, or somebody who vomits a lot because they prefer to eat poisonous herbs, but please don't pay them any mind. You must be joking. I wish I was. Unfortunately, it's true. From their perspective, Shiki, with the delusional girl they saw before and many others, would seem like a bizarre place. They might have heard about Shiki before, but they look like their expectations were exceeded in the most unexpected way. Incidentally, I might be acting out of line, but have you heard the stories? Pardon. Just as I finished explaining and was going to wrap up the conversation by leaving the rest to the father and preparing for tomorrow, Ash confirmed that nobody was paying attention to our trio and asked me in a voice more serious than before. Violet Valentine. She's the woman who chased after that girl who spoke gibberish, together with the sister. As expected, his question was about Lady Violet. I feel like Chartreuse's gaze became a bit sharper as well. What about my wife? Wife? Yes. I knew that it would definitely be an annoying question, so I asked for the confirmation with a slightly strong voice before he managed to start anything. Then, their faces changed to a wondering expression. This reaction. Looks like they didn't expect for me and Lady Violet to be married. She's your wife. I see. You must have it hard. What's wrong with this guy? Do you want me to punch that pity-laden, bitterly smiling face of yours? Not like I'd do it though. No, she's a wonderful woman who's wasted on me. I see. Hearing my words, both Ash and Chartreuse peered at my expression. They were probably trying to see if I was being genuine or not, but can't they do it more discreetly? Is that so impossible? Okay, maybe it is. Just like how in dating sim games for men, female characters are often self-assured, as if to say, you know that you have the advantage, right? Male characters in otome games are also often overly confident. Yeah. Did you want to say something about my wife? No, I just heard that she had become a nun. I was simply surprised by our unexpected encounter. If your default reaction to being surprised is contempt, you must have impressive guts. Unfortunately, I can't say this out loud. To them, she's somebody who had to quit the academy because she was hostile towards His Highness and the others. If somebody like that suddenly appeared at their training site, it's natural for them to wonder what she's doing here. No, depending on the situation, she's the enemy of the girl they like. Lord Ash. Lord Chartreuse. To apologize. We are being called, so we must excuse ourselves. Yes, see you tomorrow then. Perhaps thinking that we had finished our conversation, the two were called by another student and had to leave. Just as I was sighing while thinking about what a hassle the next day would be as I watched their receding backs. I'm sorry. Do you have a moment? Suddenly somebody called out to me from behind. It was a girl's voice and also a voice I haven't heard in Shiki, so I turned around, thinking that one of the students had spoken to me. I came face to face with a slightly short girl who was dressed in a white school uniform for commoners. I've seen this girl somewhere. Hello. Oh, I'm sorry. Is anything wrong? Is there anything you don't understand? No. There's something I want to ask. I would like to ask. Despite feeling suspicious about the way I was looking at her, the girl hesitated a bit on how to word her sentence and finally asked. I'm looking for her. Vi. Wait. I really feel like I've seen her somewhere. Don't tell me she's some kind of an underworld person. Like Ms. Schwartz. She had long fluffy golden-colored hair with a tinge of red and distinctive, almost transparent eyes. She seemed friendly, and while she was pretty and beautiful, the word that suited her, above all, was cute. She also looked like she would arouse protective instincts. Lady Valentine. Wait, she's not Valentine anymore, Lady Violet. I remembered. She's a femme fatale in a way and an existence akin to a devil for Lady Violet. I would like to meet with her. Would that be okay? Isn't this girl the heroine of the Ring of Fire? Chapter 33, Surprise Attack Strategy. The protagonist of the Otome game of magic and swords, when the Ring of Fire is lit, world is painted red, is a girl of humble origins capable of wielding the rare alchemy magic, with hair that's fluffy, long, almost golden with a tinge of red and near translucent eyes. She had no special origins, nor did she have any secret powers bestowed by her bloodline. Both her family and ancestors were just typical commoners. However, as a child, she happened to learn alchemy magic from a passing alchemist, and owing to alchemy magic and the influence of her love interests, she carved out a place for herself as an exemplary student in the academy after enrollment. And occasionally, she'd nurture a love far above her station with her love interests, defeat the sealed dragon, save the hero from assassins, and make a harem for herself made up of several men. Really just an ordinary girl. She had no default name, and the player was to set both her first and family name. That's the reason I started calling her the protagonist in my head. I have no idea what route she's on at the moment, but there's one thing I know for certain. I'm sorry for listening in. You're married to Lady Violet, aren't you? Lord Heartfelt. Yes, I am. That she's a ticking time bomb to us. I can't let her meet Lady Violet at the very least. Both for her mental well-being and to make sure her image doesn't worsen in the minds of Ash and Chartreuse so they don't show more animosity towards her. I'm much obliged to Lady Violet for all the help I received from her in the academy. However, I had no idea where she disappeared to a few months ago, so I was looking for her and happened to run across her here. I can't tell if it was a veiled insult when she said she felt obliged or if there was no special hidden meaning because she's basically a good person. Either way, I must reject her plea here. Even if her words are filled with good intentions, there's no guarantee that they will lead to a happy conclusion. I'd like to meet her and Apollo, Ms. Nephrite. But well before I could voice my disapproval, a male student, Ash, clad in the uniform for nobles, called out to her. Maybe because the voice came out of nowhere, Ms. Nephrite flinched and turned to the direction of the source. My apologies, but we discovered that some of the luggage was damaged. Could I trouble you to restore them using your alchemy magic? At first, she looked a little troubled upon hearing Ash's request, but in the blink of an eye she pasted a smile on her face. All right, I suspect there's more damage to fix, so let's get right to it. Because this is one of the few occasions where I can be of help. I appreciate it. However, I must say that you've helped us a great deal on many occasions before. There's no need to be so modest. Haha, thanks, Ash. She thanked him cheerfully, turned around to face me again and bowed deeply. Forgive me, Lord Heartfelt. I hope we can continue this conversation at a later date. Miss Nephrite. She simply bowed in response to me calling out to her, and proceeded to leave the place. Shit, I couldn't find a chance to clearly voice my disapproval. As it stands, she's going to visit me and ask for my permission to meet with Lady Violet again. There's also the possibility that she'd make a direct trip to the mansion. This has become quite bothersome. I want to respect her good intentions and feel grateful for them, but come to think of it, there's something odd about the timing Ash popped up. Could it be he's being wary? It's just my guess, but I think Ash is being wary of me. I can also sense the same sense of wariness from Chartreuse. Maybe Ash and Chartreuse saw their beloved Ms. Nephrite approach the husband of the person they hate, Lady Violet, and hastened to remove her from my presence. He probably knows the reason why I was exiled to Shiki. Well then. I scanned the church and made a little bow when I spotted the priest and walked towards the door. There is much to do. I need to provide assistance to the Azalea Academy's investigation, which is set to start tomorrow, and make introductions to the blacksmith. Also, the first thing to be prioritized is the mental well-being of Lady Violet. I can't just leave her be. Even if it means making more enemies in the Azalea Academy or the royal family, I wish to protect her. As such, I need to be meticulous and carefully plan my steps. Hear me out, CLO. Just after leaving the church and closing the door behind me, a man, who's somewhat more of a nuisance than Ash or Chartreuse, appeared before me. I made all that effort to set up a room to spend a passionate night in and went around Shiki asking out all the girls, but couldn't reel in a single one. It was too much even for me that I cursed my own fate. Is that so? If you're done cursing your fate, then I need you to shut up and go back home. I already have a ton of things weighing on my mind. I'd like to ask you not to add to them. However, without bothering to pay any attention to my circumstances, this man in front of me, Kaki, continued to speak, making grand gestures as if he were putting on a play. But I heard the girls from the Azalea Academy have arrived. Yeah. This is truly a fateful encounter. The reason why I couldn't find a partner for tonight was because I needed to spend that time with these girls. So, I ran over to meet them, Alright, for now. This is an oddly vexing sequence of events that seem to be connected together. Including the punishment to this exceedingly annoying, optimistic, foolish, lustful demon. Should I go with my fist? What was that, Cielog? I knocked him out with a punch straight to his face. Kaki. A lover boy whose batting range starts at age 10 and ends at 70 as long as the person is a female. A hero who doesn't mind a dwarf, elf or an undead as long as they have the rough figure of a woman. Is an exceedingly annoying, resilient optimist, hence the general consensus in Shiki, is that it's faster to knock rather than talk some sense into him. Chapter 34, Running Away is the most useful. In other words, I have demonic eyes. What? What am I even doing? I've been thinking so hard about what I'd do from tomorrow because the people I didn't want to meet right now are in Shiki that I've been feeling nauseous, but now I'm at the mansion, listening to Apricot's incomprehensible stories with Gray and Miss Cyan. Well, Cotty. If they're demonic, then I must exorcise them. My demonic eye cannot be dispelled just by being exorcised. For some reason, Apricot put her hand on the eye patch over her right eye, and laughed suspiciously with a tfufufu. Recently I've become able to understand her words a bit. I guess she thinks that it's cool to have some kind of a cursed energy, but she's probably not actually cursed. Sanctuary. No. You suddenly became serious. Lady Apricot. Your body is starting to sparkle for some reason. She's really sparkling after being hit with a purification spell that only works on the undead and the demons. Maybe she really has something demonic. Don't worry, Io. She's only using a tool that temporarily envelopes her body with the demonic energy that she received from Orky. It's not harmful and it'll be dispelled on its own after some time. That's so. Wait a second. Just who exactly is Orchid to be able to make something like that? Who knows? I feel like this isn't the kind of a matter that can be swept aside with just a who knows. But I do understand that they're a good person who's loved by the people of Shiki and properly scolds people when they're doing something wrong. Ku, you damn noble blue, who can use sanctuary like normal even though you have a water attribute. Would a servant of God really purify my dark powers? I don't think she did anything wrong as the servant of God though. Lady Apricot, smoke is coming out of your body. Are you really alright? Had it been somebody else in the same situation, they would have surely died on the spot, and it is because I am here that things ended with just this much damage, my disciple. I expected nothing less from you, Lady Apricot. Gray applauded her with sparkling eyes as usual. I'm worried about him being influenced strangely, but Lord CLO did say that unless things went too far, we should just watch over him quietly because he was having fun, but is it really okay to wait until things go too far? Besides, pointing things out to people is something No, maybe I shouldn't worry about it. Besides, I know why they're making such a merry and acting more excited than usual. They must be doing it out of consideration for me. They might not know the details, but they've probably heard that I did something at the academy. That's why I don't want them to worry. I'm back. Lord CLO. Welcome back. As Lord CLO returned home, I greeted him with words that I've started to say a lot since coming to Shiki. He looked a little tired. I wonder if something happened. Did somebody from the academy do something to him because of me? If so, I have to apologize. Welcome back. You're late, CLO. Sorry. I was dropping off the idiot at home. It was Key, huh? Did he try to break into the church from the front? I punched him when he was about to do it. How did she figure that out from his words? I myself am a bit envious of them for having a conversation that I can't understand. Well then, Lady Violet and everyone. After checking the people who were present and making sure that everybody was looking at him, Lord CLO took out a bottle with a liquid from the bag that he was holding and put it on the table. Let's drink. Pardon. The party began. It all started suddenly after Lord CLO opened the bottle of alcohol he had brought and after the doctor, Ivory, arrived a little late with a lot of alcoholic drinks. All 6 of us began drinking together. I've never really liked drinking alcohol. Once you become an adult, you have many opportunities to drink in social situations, so I've been practicing drinking and getting a taste of it. I've also been warned by my father to not drink too much because alcohol dulls thinking. Well, I guess it doesn't matter anymore. Hiya. Are you drinking, Io? Yes. Miss Cyan, who's a sister, has also been drinking, but I wonder if that's okay for the servant of God. Moreover, she's a bad drunk, so it's a bit troublesome. I've also been drinking a little because I was asked to. Lord CLO is reprimanding Cyan whenever she tries to drink too much. Hey, you debauched nun. Here's a refill of your favorite drink. Thank you. Boha. What's this? It's a drink that's 96% alcohol. It's surprisingly delicious. I drink it often too. I reckon that's not actually alcohol but something else that's similar. Oh, Ivory's going all at once. Is it fine for a doctor, or rather for a person, to drink that much? Ivory doesn't get drunk no matter how much he drinks, and he always has Orchid's medicine that instantly sobers him up ready, so it's fine. 2C. Wait, just who is this Orchid that can make something like that? Who knows? You can't just brush it away with, who knows. Wait, is Lord CLO also drunk? He even came up with something uncharacteristic of him out of nowhere, so maybe he was already drunk when he came home. Moo. It's unfair for only you guys to drink alcohol, Lord CLO. I would also like to have a sip. And Gray was drinking non-alcoholic champagne, puffing out his cheeks in dissatisfaction because he couldn't drink alcohol. As expected, we can't let a minor drink. I tried to talk to Gray to make him understand, but Apricot, who was closer to him, tapped Gray on the shoulder and spoke to him. You can't, my disciple. Masters like us have to wait until we are 15 years old to drink alcohol. We can't drink most alcoholic beverages until we're at the age of 20 or older. This law exists to prevent the hindering of the growth of living beings. My disciple, you also want to stay healthy and grow taller, right? Yes, but... Mew. The fact that you tried to stretch your back is proof that you are a child. Here, it's my special drink made with lemon soaked in honey and mixed with carbonated water. It's delicious, so let's drink it together. Yes. Ah, it's delicious. As expected of Lady Apricot. Who is this girl? No, I get that she's Apricot, but she's acting too different from her usual behavior, or rather I feel like usually she would have been envious and would drink alcohol secretly. Phew, besides there are ways to have fun exactly because you're not drunk. That's... You all are drunk. Therefore I shall show you my Creator's gift. Your tongue is dulled when you're drunk. Just wait patiently. Oh. You're making snacks for us, Cotty. Yes, I'll show you something that can be made in a few minutes and is also suitable for the nectar. Thus, I will be borrowing your kitchen. And this is something that I've already made. That was fast. Or rather, you already made it. And it's delicious. As expected of you, Cotty. No really, who is this girl? Apricot is the best cook out of everybody here. Is she a true mage because she lives alone and takes care of herself? Oh, it's really delicious. I'll ask her to teach me how to make it next. Maybe. No, that's not what I meant. Her cooking is delicious and the alcohol Lord CLO and Ivory brought is also unexpectedly delicious. But this isn't what I should be doing. Lord CLO. Yes, when I called out to Lord CLO, he gave a more laid-back reply than usual. Is he really drunk? I don't know if I'll be able to hear his true intentions about the current situation while he's in this state, but I want to ask at least. You might be doing it out of consideration for me, but even if you didn't do this, I would. Lady Violet, you can't change the past. However, Lord CLO answered me in a more serious tone than I expected. We also made a lot of mistakes in different places than Shiki. But everybody is trying to enjoy living in the present. While we should shoulder our sins, we don't have to fight alone. So, sometimes it's good to forget everything when you're feeling down. It's like that. It's like the Republican saying, it's a disgrace to run away, but it's useful. In other words, choose your battles. Running away is disgraceful, but it's useful. In other words, choose your battles. It is important to fight against the mistakes of the past, but do not mistake who you are fighting. You have allies in Shiki too, so you don't have to deal with everything alone. Lord CLO must want to say that I should look at my current allies too. Hearing that, I looked at Gray and the others who were making merry. He's right. I still haven't recovered, but it should be okay to enjoy this brief instance without thinking about anything else. By the way, his wording also means that you can run away from your current environment too. Are you serious? No, I didn't mean it that way, though I guess both mean to not let yourself be trapped. Foo-foo, I know, Lord CLO. I smiled at Lord CLO, who looked panicked and drank the alcohol that was poured for me in one gulp. Phew, I mustn't drink too much or say strange things after getting drunk, but just enjoying myself should be fine. Is it bad that I'm weak? Sorry for not being able to forget His Highness' words. It should be fine to just bad talk that girl whom he likes in my heart at least. If I met His Highness again, I'd probably be flustered anyway. When I sober up, I might regret all this. Come on, let's drink, Lord CLO. Ash, Father and Chartreuse don't matter today. Oh, good drinking, Lady Violet. Let's pick up the pace. But we can't drink the alcohol, that's against the law. Let's not set a bad drinking example for minors, Lord CLO. Ah, yes. Yes, we must distinguish that part. We can't just let ourselves go like Ms. Cyan. Then, the mansion's chime rang and a person entered inside after the door was opened. Wow, I am impressed. You all. Oh. Thank you very much. So you were also invited, robot. Here's a glass for the latecomer. Thank you very much. Ivory. It really does seep into my body. Wait. How is Ms. Robot drinking in that condition? Chapter 35, It's precious because you can't touch it. The first day of the Azalea Academy students' investigation. Okay, let me say this. If I meet Ash and the others, I'll probably be heartbroken. You put it very clearly. It's fine though. The morning after the party at the mansion, Lady Violet declared to me. Leaving aside whether she'd actually be heartbroken, she really doesn't seem to want to meet students from Azalea Academy, especially Ash and Chartreuse. She's also having a hard time meeting noble students. I don't think that's any surprising, considering the hostility they were looking at her with yesterday. So I asked Lady Violet to do another job, while me, Gray, Cyan and a few others are dealing with Azalea Academy's student investigation group. I didn't tell her about Ms. Nephrite, because I assume the agitation she'll feel will be on the same level as meeting His Highness. For now, it would be better to leave her as far as possible. Anyway, right now I'm visiting a house a little out of the way of Shiki with Gray early in the morning, while taking Chartreuse and Ms. Nephrite with me. What, by Bly, you mean the man who was called a living legend in the Empire and suddenly disappeared? I assume we are thinking of the same person. We are in front of the house with a smithy where iron is being hammered early in the morning. We're here because I promised Chartreuse yesterday that I'd bring him to the blacksmith. It seems that he wants to polish the damaged blade of his weapon or procure a new one. Char, is this Mr. Bly person famous? Yeah. The blades he finishes up are so good, that if they ever break, it's universally understood that it's the fault of the wielder's skills. Oh. That does make me curious as somebody on the creating side. Ms. Nephrite, who followed us, saying that she was curious, asked Chartreuse. Because of their height difference, she naturally had to look up at him, making her look deliberately cute. The person in question is probably unaware of this though. Mr. Bly is the only blacksmith in Shiki. Because of his dandy voice and appearance, and because he also makes knives, he's pretty popular with the housewives. He also makes weapons and manages both sales and exports, so he's a reliable person. Technically. However, if he doesn't like the client or the request, he will refuse anybody, even if it's the king. He is both proud of his work and picky about it. Ooh, he reminds me of my master. From an outsider's perspective, that's not wrong. He's really a difficult person, stubborn and very much a craftsman person. But we must not forget why he had to come to Shiki. We're here. Gray, I'm sorry but please wait outside. Yes, sir. When asked, Gray took a step back and bowed. Chartreuse didn't pay him much attention, whereas Miss Nephrite looked at him a bit wonderingly and then followed after me, as I stood in front of the door. I confirmed that the sound of iron being hammered was coming from the inside, and then knocked on the door a little loudly. Are you in, Mr. Bly? Go back. When he heard the content of the request, he rejected it without any questions. I mean, what did you think would happen if you asked a legendary blacksmith to do something for you with, I have money, and a condescending attitude? Chartreuse might be unsociable and awkward, but can't he do anything about his conversation skills? Though, if not for the main character of the Ring of Fire, Ms. Nephrite, he would have lived an isolated life. Please. I must become stronger. For that, your weapon is essential. I'm not going to say something cliché, like, a good swordsman isn't picky about a weapon, no matter how talented you are. If your weapon is subpar, you will always be third-rate. I kind of get it. Even in my previous life, there were many things that didn't work out well when I didn't take care of my tools. On the other hand, if you have a good weapon but your skills are inferior, it'll be like casting pearls before swine. I'd like to ask you too. His sword broke when Char was protecting us. That doesn't concern me. Why should I listen to this weakling brat I just met? After saying so, Mr. Bly turned around and returned to working on hammering the iron. From the looks of it, he won't budge if something doesn't happen. To be honest, I personally would rather if Chartreuse doesn't negotiate for a new weapon himself. It's because I want to make him owe me by offering him timely help and get him a new weapon once the negotiation fails. Chartreuse is the type of the person to honor the obligation of the favor. I want to use his sense of obligation to make it difficult for him to interfere with anything related to Lady Violet while he's in Shiki. I'm sorry, but I'm not going to make my move yet. Even though Chartreuse is a noble and he's dealing with a commoner, he won't do anything like cutting him down for offending him. Alright, then I'll strip. Why would you do that? What? If Char is stripping, I'll take off my clothes too. Why does it come to that? Calm down, you two. Wait, those guys are really trying to take off their uniforms. I was thinking of waiting and watching until they gave up to some extent, but I grabbed the hands of the two people who were trying to take off their clothes from behind and stopped them from getting naked. Please calm down, Sir Chartreuse, Ms. Nephrite. Why are you trying to take off your clothes? Let me go, Baron. I can't stand being called a weakling, so I was going to prove that I'm not weak by showing off my strength with my body. This damn muscleman that's pretending to be a composed man. You couldn't stand it so much that you even changed the way you address yourself. That's no reason to strip. I'm also asking for a favor, so I thought I couldn't let Char embarrass himself alone. I think Sir Chartreuse would be more embarrassed if you took off your clothes because of that. Really? Really? What a dramatic person, to actually try to take her clothes off. She looked like she'd even take off her underwear and stay with a naked upper body. Besides, it seems that Chartreuse didn't notice it while he was stripping, but he was grateful for me for noticing and stopping Ms. Nephrite from stripping with him. Seeing you brats naked wouldn't make me happy at all. If you want me to acknowledge you, you better go and hunt down a brank monster by yourself. Or you can train your weakling body. If you do that, I'll finish up the weapon I forged and give it to you. Cool. So you're saying that you won't acknowledge me no matter what? Fine. Then I'll keep coming back until you acknowledge me and retract your words. Wait, what are you saying? Char, what are you going to do about the school? I'll submit a leave of absence. I'm sorry, Nephrite. I also have things I can't compromise on. Char, don't you char. Him. I wish you didn't look at him with that boys will be boys expression. You'll be causing me a lot of problems if you decide to stay here on your own. What should I do? To be honest, I was just thinking about whether or not to make him owe me, but at this rate, this guy might really stay in Shiki. If that happens, Lady Violet's mental state will continue to worsen. I gestured to the two of them to leave things to me, then took a step forward and called out to Mr. Bly. Mr. Bly. What is it, CLO? I won't compromise on this even if it's a request from the Lord. I understand that much. This person won't do a job he doesn't like, even if it's a request by a nobleman or the king himself. And he also knows that he's skilled enough that his selfishness will be forgiven. But let's put some conditions on it. Conditions? Yes, beneficial conditions for you. What on earth are you talking about? I clapped twice loudly with 3 pairs of eyes on me. Then, with that as a signal, the door to the smithy opened. The person who I had waiting outside came in. Isn't this my sweet angel? Ha! Yes, it was Grey. Chartreuse and Nephrite were shocked by Mr. Bly's incomprehensible words that were different from his previous craftsmanlike demeanor. Good morning, Sir Bly. You have been working from early in the morning today as well. No, thank you for coming to this stuffy place this early in the morning, Grey. What are you up to today? Mr. Bly put down his tools and approached Grey with a confused but happy expression. I gestured to the confused Chartreuse and Ms. Nephrite with my arm to back away and watched the unfolding show. Yes, I have heard that Lord Chartreuse, the former schoolmate of my new master, Lady Violet, would be acquiring a new weapon, so I came as Lord CLO's companion. Is that so? Did you hear our conversation by chance? No, I was told by Lord CLO to wait outside, so I couldn't hear anything due to the sound of the iron being hammered. Was there a problem? Nope, nothing. Nothing at all. Mr. Bly was relieved by Grey's words while Grey had a questioning look on his face. Sorry, Grey. Please forgive me for using you. Hey, Grey, if I remember right, you were supposed to help the students of Azalea Academy with their investigation today. Yes, that's what I had planned. Actually, it looks like Mr. Bly needs some help to finish up Sir Chartreuse's weapon. Wah. Not only Mr. Bly, but also Chartreuse and Ms. Nephrite looked at me, wondering what the hell I was talking about. Alright, I knew in advance that Mr. Bly had some free time to work with, and I know that things can work out with just finishing, so it's fine. In other words, I should help Mr. Bly and not the investigation. Yeah, can I leave it to you? Also, we'll be investigating until 3 p.m., so can you stay with Mr. Bly until then? If you're done with finishing up Sir Chartreuse's weapon, you can have tea with him until it's time or have lunch with him. You don't have any other work to do, after all. Mr. Bly caught my drift from my words and his eyes filled up with motivation. It was as if his craftsmanship spirit was ignited. It's a nasty fire. I understand, but is that okay? I doubt I would be of any use to the blacksmith. You will. As long as you're here, the quality of my weapons will be doubled. I see. I will do my best. Mr. Bly got to work while probably shouting, "Hell yeah!" in his heart. Chartreuse, who had stopped and was watching the situation, finally put his hand on his head and thought about it, trying to understand the situation, and then asked me a question, perhaps realizing that there was no point in thinking about it. So looking at him, will my sword be fine? It'll be fine. He won't slack off and he'll try to look good in front of Gray. But the way that blacksmith is acting. Didn't I say that he was a difficult person? Did you mean it in that sense? Yes, I did. Mr. Bly didn't come to Shiki for a craftsmanlike reason, like being tired of troublesome human relationships that stopped him from making weapons he liked or leaving the Empire to do nothing but make weapons in the countryside. He's in Shiki because he was kicked out of the Empire for liking shotas, young boys. He's a no-touch shotokan, has a hands-off policy. He's somebody who's happy to look at them and drink tea with them. This legendary blacksmith is quite unique. Ms. Nephrite was desperately trying to describe Mr. Bly in a roundabout way. Chapter 36, something like that. Wow, amazing. I can tell by a single glance that each knife is different. Are you interested in things like these, Lady Nephrite? Yeah, it's fun to look at things like this, after all. Also, can you please stop calling me Lady Nephrite? How may I address you? You can call me just by my name or a more familiar title maybe, like Miss Nephrite or simply Neffy. I understand it, Miss Lady Neffy. Yeah, you didn't really understand it. There was still time until the investigation began, so Ms. Nephrite was taking another look at the weapons and the cutlery, like knives, used in everyday life, that were made by Mr. Bly while talking with Gray. As someone who can use alchemy, in other words, as someone who's on the side of creating, she seems to be interested in the culmination of such techniques. Come to think of it, I wonder how skilled she is at alchemy magic. It's a little difficult to judge, because her skills differ depending on the route. Right now, she might not be as good as her master, but she should be at the level when she's starting to attract attention. Baron. The blacksmith is preoccupied with your secretary, and Nephrite also seems to be involved in the conversation, so there's something I want to say to you. Something you want to say? Yeah. That must have been his biggest effort at describing the current situation in a roundabout way. After confirming that the three a little further away couldn't hear us, he urged me to go outside. I had a feeling that it would be a hassle, but I gave a small nod and quietly went outside. Neither of the three people seemed to have noticed us. After I went outside and closed the door, Chartreuse turned to face me with his usual sour expression, showing no signs of the previous agitation. Baron, I would like to think that you are a good person, based on your behavior yesterday and the fact that you negotiated weapons for me. Thank you very much. Would like to think means that he doesn't think so. Long story short, we just met so he can't judge my character, but he'd like to believe that I'm a good person. Either way, couldn't he have chosen a better way to say it? That's why I find it unforgivable that you have been bewitched by that woman. I see. I fully understand what Chartreuse is trying to say. In other words, it's something like this, right? Violet Valentine. Do not let her inside your heart. She will only bring you ruin. Okay, he's picking a fight with me. It'll cost you a lot, you bastard. Why do you think so, Sir Chartreuse? As I interacted with him with nothing but a smile, Chartreuse didn't let it show on his face, but he put his hand on the handle of the sword that hung from his waist and gripped it tightly with anger. As if he was remembering something in his past that he couldn't forgive. Her actions are too flagrant. Since you are married to a woman from the ducal family who was engaged to His Highness, you must be aware of her circumstances. To some extent. But I'm sure you don't know the details. She's a cancer that was infecting His Highness. He didn't mention the specifics of her actions, but Chartreuse briefly recited Lady Violet's deeds. I don't intend to say that somebody who's aiming to become a knight shouldn't be gossiping behind somebody's back. But he probably hates Lady Violet enough to talk like this. There are several reasons why one person can hate another. For example, their trust was betrayed. They were harassed. It was the last straw that broke the camel's back. It had to do with their aesthetic values. Physiological dislike. Or somebody they liked was insulted. Thank you for your consideration, Sir Chartreuse. However, like I mentioned yesterday, I am quite fond of Lady Violet. Are you saying that you were telling the truth yesterday? Yes. Even though you know about that woman's past, you still accept her. I don't necessarily have a clean past either. In fact, I am the one who's worried whether she'll accept me or not. At my words, Chartreuse looked at me in disbelief, or rather, he looked at me with pity you would have for somebody ignorant. Unfortunately, there is no reason why he should be looking at me like that. No, but I guess I don't mind if he feels sorry for me when the idiot squad from Shiki causes damage in the outside world. Why? Pardon. You must have a reason to think so. Why do you like that woman? Why? Why, ha. At the beginning, even though I got married suddenly, I didn't have a good image of marriage due to my previous life and my current parents, so I admit that I went with the tide for a bit. And it's also true that I wasn't looking at Lady Violet properly. What should I do? I don't know what to do anymore. But it's also true that when I saw that expression on her face, I didn't want to leave her alone. There was also a time when I noticed small goodness in her that I hadn't noticed before. That should have been enough for a trigger. I have no intentions of telling you. I'm not mature enough to tell a person who hates her all the reasons why I love her. That's why I clearly showed my hostility towards Chartreuse. I can understand that he's warning me out of courtesy and because he's worried that I don't know anything. I also know that despite his clumsiness, his hate towards evil isn't a lie. However, even if he can't forgive what Lady Violet has done in the past, she's still an important person to me now. I cannot concede on that. Oh, here you are. I panicked because you two suddenly disappeared. Before Chartreuse could say anything back, Ms. Nephrite, who had finished looking at the items, appeared from the smithy and interrupted our conversation. Perhaps thinking that we shouldn't talk about this in front of Ms. Nephrite, Chartreuse didn't pursue the matter further and turned his back to me. Did anything happen? No, nothing. Ms. Nephrite seemed to have some doubts, but she didn't pursue it any further, instead looking at us alternatively with an anxious expression on her face. I thought that I shouldn't stay here any longer and was about to urge them to return to the church, when Ms. Nephrite spoke to me. Oh yes, Lord Heartfield, about yesterday. Sorry. Can I meet Vi? SHAT, I forgot about that. What should I do? Chartreuse has obviously not forgiven Ms. Violet and he's hostile towards her. Probably the same goes for Ash too. If Lady Violet and Ms. Nephrite were to meet under such circumstances, the other two would likely come along as bodyguards and they won't even try to hide their hostility. Chartreuse even reacted to those words without turning back towards me. Besides, I'd like to avoid letting them meet even unknown. I can't even imagine what kind of situation it'll end up as. At the moment, Lady Violet is attending to her duties. Meeting her would be difficult. So, as the last resort, I'll tell her that meeting Lady Violet would be difficult. I know that Ms. Nephrite wouldn't give up just because of that, but... Oh, that thing I see at the end of my vision is... I understand that I'm asking for the impossible. But I want to meet her during this investigation. Is there really no chance I could meet her? It's impossible today, at the very least. Today. She is scheduled to patrol from the sky. What? No, don't make weird excuses. Please. She can't fly in the sky unless she's on airship or riding a monster. After I said that, my target approached us, so I decided to take the opportunity and introduce her. It looks like she's here to deliver new materials to Miss Bly. She glided down from the sky and slowly landed in front of us. Hello. Good morning, Mr. CLO. What? Fine weather we have today. Robot, the culmination of the humanoid lost technology, greeted us cheerfully. Yeah, good morning. The weather is sure nice today. She's still living in the future as usual. Please meet Robot. Today Lady Violet is planning to ride Robot to fly. She hasn't ridden Het yet, so I thought we'd let her get used to it. What? Well, for the time being, pleased to meet you. Here's a financier to commemorate our meeting. Why financier? And her pronunciation was unnecessarily good. Ahaha, the world sure is wide. Looking at Robot, Ms. Nephrite seemed to have a slightly distant look on her face. Chartreuse held his weapon ready, as if he didn't understand what was going on. TL/N, until now Robot's gender was left ambiguous, but later chapters confirmed that she is in fact a she, so she will be referred to thusly from now on. Chapter 37, Until They Try to Get Used to It 1/2. Azalea Academy students investigating Day 1, the start of the investigation. I call it investigation, but I already know that Fenrir is no longer here, so I'm trying to make sure that the students of Azalea Academy won't end up in trouble and the troublemakers of Shiki don't cause problems for the students of Azalea Academy. That's the most difficult part though. Well then, we will move in groups that were divided in advance. The means of communication is. Ash had gathered all the students and was instructing them. Perhaps he's used to work like this, seeing that he's both calm and efficient, he looks quite mature. He's probably much more composed than I was at 15 years old in this life. In addition, as a safety measure, each group will be accompanied by one person from Shiki as a guide. Everyone, please do not cause any trouble. Everybody responded to Ash's words in beautiful unison. In response, we also greeted them and stood in front of our assigned groups. We explained the areas we were in charge of and our roles in battle. I'm in charge of the group with Ash and Ms. Nephrite. It's a bit of an unpleasant combination, but I have to do my best to deal with them. Otherwise, I won't be able to show my face to Grey, who I had to exploit, and Lady Violet, who's flying in the sky right now because of my desperate excuse. Besides, those two are excellent at combat and magic. Ash is an expert of earth and wind, and depending on the game route, he's even contracted to an amazing spirit called Carbuncle. Shit, I wish I had even a tenth of his talent in magic. In addition, please keep this in mind. Shiki is a somewhat special place. I explained this to Sir Ash yesterday, and there may be other people who've heard about it, with many of you thinking, there's no way such strange people would be here. He's definitely exaggerating. A few students laughed quietly at my words as the Lord Governor, and Ash reprimanded them with a cough. Well, at least they're paying attention to my words. Frankly speaking, I hope they keep laughing. In fact, perhaps because of what happened earlier, Chartreuse and Ms. Nephrite look serious. Yes, for example. Actually, luckily, there's an easy-to-understand idiot coming here, so I'll use him to explain. Haha. Kittens of Azalea Academy, you're welcome to investigate in my room anytime. Outbreak water. First, you must change the environment under their feet and stop their movements. Creation cloth. Next, you block their sight to confuse them. Make mass. In addition, you also restrain their hands so they can't wield their weapons. And lastly, you punch them in their open body and render them immobile. Ha. G.H.O. Cyan, the father, Mr. Green and I work together in turns to neutralize Khaki. The students of Azalea Academy were in commotion with confused expressions due to the sudden happening. Just like I said, there are similar suspicious people in Shiki. If you have a hard time making judgments, please shout. Do not make decisions on your own. Cooperation is important in a group. Students of Azalea Academy were confused by my words but still nodded in approval. Amidst the racket, a male student wearing a white commoner's school uniform, judging by the shape of his ears, he must have had elf blood, hesitantly raised his hand and asked. What are you going to do about that person? His chaperone will take this guy later so there won't be any problems. Don't worry, he can take punches. 2C. This guy is strangely talented at magic, and he can handle a beating without any problem so he'll be fine. If it gets worrisome, he'll be revived as long as a woman approaches him. By chaperone, do you mean his family? Nope, not really. Status-wise this person is technically from a marquee family, so it's probably somebody like his guard. Everybody was surprised by Cyan's addition to a certain student's question. And the investigation in Shiki began. Is this hot spring? Yes, it sprung up lately. You can go in, but please be careful, since the maintenance is not complete yet. Since the hot spring was included in the area of investigation, I decided that we'd stop by for a little explanation. It's because it would be bad if they came here carelessly and got in trouble. Lord Heartfield. There's a man drowning in the hot spring. What did you say? Who in the world? Then, Ms. Nephrite noticed a person who we couldn't see, most likely due to the steam. She immediately rushed towards the person while talking and I followed after her. As I approached, I saw a figure drowning in the hot spring face down. Oh, there we go. Helping out Ms. Nephrite, who was desperately trying to awaken the man, I grabbed this dark-skinned man who was 1.75 meters tall, holding a long sword as big as himself by his arm, and lifted him up with one arm. It's fine, he's just sleeping. Oh, you're right. I can hear his breathing. Even though he's still wearing clothes. This boy sleeps a lot. Hey, wake up, Brown. You'll catch a cold if you stay in wet clothes. I'm not sleeping. GUH, this guy has a lot of courage, as usual. Considering his age, it's not strange if he sleeps for a long time, but I wish he slept in a way that didn't make other people worry. He's sleeping just like a small child. Foo-foo, so cute. However, he is older than us. If he keeps acting like this, he will cause trouble for other people, and if he's an adult, he should exercise some self-restraint. Ms. Nephrite smiled a brown sleeping face and Ash frowned. I wonder if he's jealous that the girl he likes smiled at somebody else and called him cute. But I feel like it's slightly from jealousy. Is he simply criticizing the situation? Oh, but I should probably add a follow-up just in case. This child isn't an adult. This boy is 7 years old. He just looks like an adult. What? Brown, 7 years old. Even Mr. Bly is conflicted whether to classify him as a Shota or an adult. Coo. That's right, grow more. Good, very good. Grow healthily. Cuckoo, those kids will be happy too. I was told that somebody very clearly suspicious was lurking around, so I went to check it secretly, and sure enough, a suspicious man was there. You can even say that people who would look at his appearance and actions and think that it wasn't suspicious would be weirder themselves. Please look, Baron Heartfield. There's a chance that he's the one who brought the Fenrir in question. We should follow him and investigate. Ah, yeah, it's fine. He's a black magician who falls into the good category even within Shiki citizens. He's growing mushrooms. Is it magic mushrooms? No, just shiitake. Is that code for something? No, it's really just shiitake. Kids find the shiitake mushrooms he grows very delicious, so it's popular among the children of Shiki. Moreover, he even came up with a way to harvest them all year round, so he's a big help. I'm really grateful that he's sharing with us. Once we went back to Shiki to eat lunch, Ash, who had gone to the bathroom, came back in a hurry. Ms. Nephrite, I think she ate a poisonous plant. Could you please give her an antidote? Of course. Show me her symptoms, I'll prepare it right away. What did you say? Whose? Hearing Ash's words, not just Ms. Nephrite, but also the students around rushed towards him worriedly. I checked the girl Ash brought in, a Princess Carrie. Oh. It's her HMP. Baron Heartfield. How could you punch a girl in the stomach? Cough cough shit, what are you doing? Good lord. Just as it was getting to the good part. The poison was finally spreading through my body and making me numb. My body demands to be numbed. What? All the people around her were put off by the girl that was coughing out poisonous herbs. I nudged Emerald's head for saying something stupid, took her from Ash's arms, and Princess carried her to Ivory, who was passing by. Since she wasn't injured, Ivory made a blatantly disgusted face, which Emerald answered with an equally disgusted face after looking at him. One of them is a doctor who gets excited by looking at injuries, while the other is a compounder who gets excited at the prospect of experiencing new poisons. Both of them have the same desire to cure others, so why does it manifest in such a weird way? No, is that even a right word for this? Kabaddi 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 kabaddi. Kabaddi 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 kabaddi. I was desperately blocking Ms. Nephrite, who was trying to sneak out during the noon so she wouldn't go to Lady Violet. Cool, I expected nothing less from her. This athletic ability can't be underestimated. Ash, what are those two doing? I don't know. By the time I came, they were already doing this incomprehensible dance. Fohahaha. Oh, the great apple gates. Is your ether light going fine? If you so wish, I will not hesitate to use Ugly Destiny as the great formula user. I'm sorry, what is she saying? This one is a bit difficult. Though, judging from this situation. Fohahaha, students who attend the school built by our great ancestors. Is the investigation to reduce the unrest among the people going smoothly? If you need, I, who can use many different types of magic, can use my newly developed detection magic to help you. I am surprised you could catch all that. I'm used to it, but also I can understand her because it reminds me of my dark past. No, but apricot severity is much worse than how I was though. Even I wasn't this bad. Then, one day, Ash asked me with a smiling yet a tired expression. Please forgive me for my rudeness, but... Baron Heartfield, do you always deal with those people? Well, yes. I see. Honestly, I'm not happy about that sympathetic look. Author's note. Emerald. Green's compounder daughter. 13 years old. Her latest worry is that she has built up tolerance against poison and it doesn't make her body go numb anymore. Chapter 38, Until They Try to Get Used to It, Part 2. During the investigation conducted in the afternoon, we rooted out the monsters in the vicinity and had the students fight them to practice team combat. That was when a little misstep in teamwork resulted in an upper arm injury in one of the students. Though there was no worry of debilitating aftereffects, it was still a wound that could end up a light scar without proper treatment. Is it a wound? It's a wound, right? Unlike a foolish patient who ingested an unknown poison out of their own volition, it's a wound, right? All right, just leave it to me, I'll heal it so well, not a trace of it will be left behind. Rest assured, including the stains on your white uniform, I'll fix everything. Let's get started. Hold on, no. Ivory, who popped out of nowhere, got started on his treatment. I'm glad the patient is not female. There's no doubt that he faces much danger as is, but I like to find relief in the fact that it's someone of the same sex as Ivory. Because, after performing the necessary first aid, Ivory would ask his patient to take off their uniform, and the sight of him panting as he stared at the wounds looks way too disturbing. I mean, it's plenty disturbing even now. Oh, that's some amazing skills and magic. The medicine I whip up wouldn't be able to heal this well. Ms. Nephrite observed Ivory's healing skill while her eyes beamed with curiosity. The student receiving the treatment was without a jacket, and though he still had his shirt on, being ogled by a female student made him hang his head down in embarrassment. I asked Ash if it was all right to leave her be, but he replied with a wry smile that her curiosity was part of her charm and what defined her. Makes sense. Seeing her face positively animated with curiosity, I couldn't help but agree with him. In the afternoon, the lust demon had freed himself, as if it was only natural he did so, from the rather tight restraints I'd placed on him, and went around flirting with the girls from the academy. Perhaps owing to the incident earlier, I heard his advances were utterly spurned, and after being depressed for a few minutes he bounced back to his old joyful self. I'm rather envious of his personality in a way. My word. How could I have not noticed their charm? So how about it, we don't need to court each other, but what do you think of a relationship that starts and ends with our bodies? I feel flattered, but forgive me. He then tried putting the moves on Ms. Nephrite, but was obviously turned down. Kaki lamented on the rejections, laughed it off, and asked them to seek him out should they change their minds. If only Lady Violet could switch gears as fast as him. No, I'd better stop with that thought. I don't think I'd like such a Lady Violet. Ahaha. I wonder if someone like that coming on to you is what it means to be popular. I've never had anyone flirt with me that ardently, it made me really nervous. Ms. Nephrite, you'd better steer clear of that guy. Any kind of relationship with him will only serve to hurt you. Please hide behind me whenever you feel scared. Got it, thanks, Ash. Ash looked to be in a rather bad mood as he commented on Kaki's conduct to Ms. Nephrite. He probably finds it inexcusable to have such men come in contact with her. I mean, if you think you aren't popular, then practically no girl in this entire world could ever be popular. Is she trying to pick a fight? Oh, by the way, was Ash your name? How do you feel about strengthening our bond? And Ash, who was hit on for some reason, had lost all life in his eyes. I hope that guy doesn't get himself executed. What's wrong, Char? I don't see you leaping for joy despite obtaining a new sword. Is the workmanship poor? Oh, Ash. No, there's no problem with it. There's no problem. But to think that guy made something like this. What's wrong? You're acting strange. You're right. I need to get stronger to protect her too. I can't let something like this get me down. 15:30. It was the appointed time. Gray and Mr. Bly brought with them the sword that was made for Chartreuse. Normally he wouldn't leave the smithy. But I'm guessing he wanted to spend more time with Gray, however little. Chartreuse held the sword handed to him, ascertained its condition, and checked the quality of craftsmanship with a strange look on his face. "Good work, Mr. Bly. I do apologize for it was such a sudden request. Nah, I feel grateful to CLO. I consider Gray to be one of the finest lads around. To craft a sword in the same shared space. What a blissful moment. What the heck is he saying with his refined voice and looks? He'd be a cool if unsociable, decent-looking guy if not for his predilections. I hope you haven't laid a hand on my son. You fool. Beauty is meant to be cherished and never crushed. Ah. But next time, I want him to stay over and take a bath. What the hell are you trying to do to my son, you bastard? I thought I'd use the bathwater to forge a sword and make it a family heirloom. Alright, I've decided. I have to warn Gray to never use the bath in Mr. Bly's home no matter the circumstance. He may not lay a hand, but he's still too much of a degenerate. That's the reason he was kicked out of the capital with, for heaven's sake, just go somewhere out of sight and make weapons. There's no connection between this and that, none whatsoever. What is it, Char? Why are you shaking with such a conflicted look on your face? Something wrong. The investigations had wrapped up earlier on the first day and everyone was free to do what they wanted, so some went sightseeing around Shiki or got started on their report. That was when I came across a male student in agony resting his head on the wall of a building. Judging from his uniform, he appeared to be a noble. The one in charge of my group today is a nun called Cyan. A boy from the group Cyan was responsible for. If my memory serves me, this kid gave off the impression of being somewhat meek for a noble. The kid looked more timid and likely to be henpecked, rather than gentle towards girls. Perhaps Cyan let loose in the absence of the priest and he was terribly taken aback. She could certainly be considered beautiful judging by looks alone, so maybe he had fallen for her at first sight and the illusion had shattered later. I'm aware. I know that people of cloth are not allowed to wear undergarments. Yeah. But the nuns normally refrain from showing skin and it's considered impertinent to view them sexually. And yet. Why does her skirt have such a big slit? That's because Cyan prefers hand-to-hand combat over magic. She altered her skirt to make it easier to fight when necessary. It would still make sense to at least wear something underneath when you're thinking of fighting. Like leggings or shorts or tights. There, calm down, kid. Her thighs that peek through the slit in her garb, the outline of her buttocks, and her crotch that's almost visible. Shit, if she were to wear something snug, then that might be amazing in its own way. Cyan made a certain boy's mind explode. Stay strong, kid. Sexual worries are a part of life. It's probably hard to talk about this with fellow students of your own age, so if you don't mind, I'll lend you an ear. Okay, but if she stuck to her style, put on some heels and stepped on me and I looked up from down below. Stop right there, kid. I can't let you go past that point. I learned of this later. There is a group of students enrolled at the Azalea Academy, who are said to possess a certain strange sense of composure. They are said to be terribly unperturbed even in the face of perverts and criminals who make their appearance when spring is in the air. At one point, an unrelated, curious student asked them the reason, to which they replied thus. I can't get used to their irrationality, but perverts don't surprise me anymore. His expression seemed to imply that he knew of a pervert way worse than any he had encountered. Chapter 39, In the Sky. I am flying through the sky. It's not a metaphor. My body is actually soaring through the sky. The wind is stimulating my skin, as if caressing it. Trying not to be thrown off, I put more force into my arms than usual. How did things end up this way? Our robot. Can't you fly a little slower? Impossible. I am already flying slowly as it is. I am flying through the sky by hugging Ms. Robot's back. Actually, even if I let go, I wouldn't fall down due to some unknown force. Even Ms. Robot couldn't explain it, and the wind isn't strong either despite our speed. From what I've heard, the entire space around Ms. Robot is protected by lost technology. The point is, it's some kind of an incomprehensible force. So why am I flying in the sky with Ms. Robot? The reason is a sudden event that happened several hours ago. Having finished my work before the students of the academy arrived, I was sorting out the materials and cleaning at the mansion when Ms. Robot suddenly appeared from the sky and... Alright. Let's go flying together. Saying so, she took me with her. When I asked her what was going on, she told me that I was the only one who hadn't flown with her before, so she had come to invite me. Furthermore, there was a chance that a certain student could come to see me, and in order to fool them, Lord CLO told them that I was patrolling with Ms. Rabbit. In that case, we have no actual reason to go flying, right? Is what I thought, but I also wanted to experience flying in the sky, so I accepted her invitation. Everything was fine up until this point. Ms. Robot glided through the sky rather relentlessly. It seems that there's no worry that we'd fall down, but it's still scary. 2M Sorry, Ms. Violet. I've received an emergency call. I don't have much time, so we'll be heading to the destination right away. Ha! Ms. Robot, where are you going? Please. Don't worry. We'll arrive by noon. That's not what I meant. Also, Ms. Robot, you can talk normally, right? Why are you talking in broken sentences? What does normal mean? All living beings have their own normal way of living. I didn't ask for a philosophy lecture. And Ms. Robot accelerated. I no longer had the time to think about the principle behind it. Even though you lied for my sake, it's impossible for me to not hold a grudge against you, Lord CLO. I'm tired. Before noon. I was feeling listless in the outskirts of the town next to Shiki, which was one day's journey away. I don't really get what business Ms. Robot had here, but if she said that it was an emergency call, it must have been an emergency call, so I decided to stop thinking about it too much. By the way, the reason I'm at the outskirts is because Ms. Robot landed here. She said it was because when she landed inside the town, she would sometimes be mistaken as a monster and get attacked. Apparently she could quietly enter the town from here in something called stealth mode. The sky is blue. There were students of the academy in this town too, and since I wanted to avoid meeting them, I decided to not enter the town, so I was just staring blankly at the sky. I was in that blue sky. I thought calmly, but to be honest, I didn't want to experience it that much. I might start enjoying it if I experience it many times, but I don't want to do it for a while. I wonder if we'll fly again on our way back. Phew. I sighed quietly and stretched my body as much as I could. It's something I usually never did because I was worried about the watching eyes. But in this fine weather, as I hear the hustle and bustle from the town and listen to the chirping of the birds, it made me want to relax a little. I don't have to worry about the time or evaluation, and more than anything, I don't have to worry about people looking at me. Just a few months ago, I would have been putting up front even if nobody was looking at me. No need to fight alone. Ha! I have no intention of becoming depraved. I'm also not trying to pretend that the past mistakes never happened. But, even if I have enemies, I also have allies. Instead of thinking about using them, I started thinking about how I didn't want to lose them. I'm happy about this change in my mindset. Did you think that anybody would be on your side now? Aw, really? I hate my weakness. Seems like it'll take me more time to get over my emotional wounds. But I have to treasure the present and face forward. Not as someone who's dependent as a way of escapism or resigned as a compromise. But as myself, who lives in the present. Rather, if I think about it well, this is the result of me saying that I'd be heartbroken if I met Ash and Chartreuse. Lord CLO accepted it with a smile, but there's a limit to how pathetic I can be. Right now I can even meet them and stop it. Memories of being indirectly beaten to a pulp by the two of them during the duel flash back to my mind. In the end, I was defeated by His Highness and that girl and was showered with ridiculing gazes from both students and teachers in the duel arena. Ugh, I feel nauseous. Are you okay? Ooh, it's you, Ms. Robot. I'm fine. Are you motion sick from riding me? No, I'm not. I just spoiled my mood by remembering the past. That's not good. Yeah, it's not good. But I wonder if Ms. Robot's emergency matter ended. If it did, I'll ask her if we can return slower this time. We might be late for lunch, but I'll probably feel like throwing up even if I ate anything. Ms. Violet. HM. What's wrong? After taking a good look at me and seeming as if she wanted to ask me something, Ms. Robot. Would you like to eat lunch with me? Suggested thus. Author's note. Stealth mode. It makes things hard to see, but not invisible. The townspeople know it and just ignore her, thinking, oh, it's that person. Chapter 40, Bad Premonitions Tend to End Being True. We were sitting on the perfect-sized rock and eating lunch under the blue sky. This packed lunch seems to be handmade by Ms. Robot and she seemingly prepared it so we could eat it together after flying in the sky. I'm trying to not worry about where she took it out from or where the drinks are coming from. I feel like I'll lose if I do. Ah, this is delicious. Thank you very much. The packed lunch that Ms. Robot made was delicious. There were many dishes made by using vegetables and pork that I'd become able to eat recently. They had been drained of excessive moisture and seasoned with the possibility that the taste would change over time in mind, making them suitable for a packed lunch. Actually, I wonder if Ms. Robot made this lunch in her current state. She held the knife, did the preparations, and grilled the meat. No, halfway through I can only imagine her yelling "Aha!" as everything is instantly done in a strange way using incomprehensible power. There are a lot of capable cooks in Shiki. No, maybe this is the norm. Recently I've become used to cooking, but I've only gotten used to the act of cooking and what I make is still far from being delicious. Lord CLO and Gray eat it happily though. When I look at their faces, I feel happy, but I also feel a little guilty. Partly because I have always been taught that cooking is not something nobles do. I have always been against the nobles cooking. And I took it out hard on her, who was loved not only by His Highness, but also Ash and Chartreuse. The girl who made packed lunches for them. As expected, it pains me to find joy in the action that I had denied before out of jealousy. What is normal? Ms. Robot. I don't know if she found my words or my current state curious, but Ms. Robot stopped eating, a distant expression on her face. Actually, I thought this yesterday too, but how does she eat? Violet. Do you like water? That was a close call. I almost spat out whatever I was eating. What is she saying out of nowhere? Like. Hike. Spike. Fright. Lord Cielo's life is full of fright. No, I know that she meant something else. If you ask me whether or not I like Lord Cielo, and if you mean if I like or dislike him as a person, the current me would say that I like him. He's kind to me, accepts me and treats me with care, and I want to become his strength. But I don't know if this is because I like him as a man. And the like Ms. Robot is asking about in this case is probably that kind. But why would she bring it up out of nowhere? Don't tell me. Ms. Robot, cheating is wrong. You got me wrong. I was wrong. I guess Ms. Robot didn't ask me this because she likes Lord Cielo then. Amber has said before that cheating is exciting exactly because it's a taboo, so I was a little worried. I'm a little relieved, but it also makes me feel a bit complicated. I don't know why I feel either of those emotions though. In any case, if this means that she won't take Lord Cielo from me, I'll answer honestly. I think I like Lord Cielo. You think? Lord Cielo said that he wanted to love everything about me. However, I'm an immoral woman. I'm still hesitating whether it's okay for me to fall in love like this. Immoral. Ms. Robot looked up a little, taking a thinking posture, as if trying to understand the meaning of my words. Why do you think so? Even if you ask me why, I'll have to tell you a long story about what happened before I came to Shiki. Is that fine? I was the one who asked. So it is fine. I see. I had someone I liked. I told Ms. Robot about my past. I told her that there was a man I'd promised to marry in the future and that I loved and revered that person from the bottom of my heart. I had spent most of my life working to improve myself for the sake of that person, devoting myself to him. However, after entering the academy, that person started to pay attention to another woman and I became jealous of her. Riddled with anxiety due to his change, I gave him a warning, but that was nothing but me forcing my ideals on him. Unable to see my surroundings, I challenged that woman to a duel, but I had no allies. I was alone. None of the students who had been buttering me up nor the male students I had some connections with even thought of helping me. They all clearly wished to see me fall. And finally, that person told me that he had never loved me. As I was talking, I became more and more depressed. Lord Cielo told me that if I wanted to run away I was free to do so, and that he wanted to fall in love with me with everything included. Yesterday he also said that sometimes it's okay to forget things I don't like, but as I confirm the reality again, I really am an immoral and pathetic woman. Ugh, I feel nauseous again. Why do you think that you are immoral? From that? Isn't it obvious? There was someone I liked before Lord Cielo. Despite that, I couldn't completely forget my feelings and now I'm married to Lord Cielo. To change my feelings after entrusting my heart to another man, it makes me nothing but an immoral woman. Aren't you too thick-headed? Ha! Ms. Robot suddenly started speaking fluently. Or rather, what's with that exasperated gesture? She sighed as if to say, wow, this girl really doesn't get it. What is she getting at? No, it's not as thick as yours. Just from its shape, it's quite thick. I meant it differently. Then what did she mean? It feels unpleasant to be denied when you don't know what the other person means. Okay. 4. Now. Ms. Robot quickly stood up and put away the lunchbox. Her chest part suddenly opened up and she was able to put it inside. Ignoring its volume, surely my eyes were mistaken. I saw a faint glow and heard a whirling sound. Yes. It had to be an auditory hallucination. There is one thing I would like to say. Then, Ms. Robot grabbed my arm. Why? I have a bad feeling about this. If I don't run away now, I'll end up in terrible trouble. Specifically, it might be something that will make the fear I experienced just a short while ago come back. Let us make your head a little softer. Set. I wish my bad premonition had been wrong. You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.